Welcome to Byju's IAS. Good evening, everyone. Am I audible and visible? Yeah. Thank you, Hemangi. Good evening. Visible also? Audible and visible. Just hold on. Yeah. Yeah. Good evening, Shambhavi, Kriti, Meshak, Shruti, Megha. Let some more people join in and then I'll begin. Yeah. Thank you, Shruti. Roshni, Ashish, Brajneet, Bhimare. Yeah. Good evening, everyone. So yesterday we were discussing the Mauryan Empire. I covered a few aspects about the Mauryan Empire. We discussed the various sources for the study of the Mauryas. We have seen that real Indian history or proper Indian history begins from the Mauryan Empire onwards because we have a number of sources, authentic sources, both literary sources as well as archaeological sources. And among the literary sources, we have a number of scholars, writers, travelers who came to India during the Mauryan Empire and even after the Mauryan Empire collapsed. Greek and Roman writers, Sinhalese writers, or visitors to India, Chinese scholars like Fahian, Hyunsang, Tibetan writers. So many of them give us a lot of information. All these visitors, travelers give us a lot of information about the Mauryan Empire, various aspects of the Mauryan Empire, polity, society, economy, etc. And the most authentic source for the study of the Mauryas are the edicts of Ashoka, the royal messages of Ashoka, which are found throughout the length and breadth of this country. And wherever these edicts are found, we come to know the extent of the Mauryan Empire. So we have discussed the origin of the Mauryas, who these Mauryas were, sources for the study of the Mauryas, literary sources, foreign accounts, and among foreign accounts, we have both among literary sources, we have both foreign accounts and indigenous literature. And among the indigenous literature, the most important is the Arthashastra of Kautilya. Then, of course, the edicts of Ashoka, we have discussed that yesterday. The rock edicts, pillar edicts, cave edicts, they are found in 3 languages and 4 scripts, uh, Prakrit, Greek and Aramaic languages, and Brahmi, Kharosthi, Greek and Aramaic scripts. And of course, other inscriptions. Then we went on to do the political history. I have discussed about Chandragupta Maurya, the founder of the Mauryan Empire. He overthrew Dhanananda with the help of Chanakya and established the Mauryan Empire. Patliputra was its capital, and he conquered everything from parts of Afghanistan up to the Vindhya mountains. And he ruled for 24 years. And finally, towards the end of his life, he went away to South India, to the present region of Karnataka, to a place called Shravanabelagola, and he committed Sallekhana there. We have discussed the circumstances which led Chandragupta Maurya to give up the throne to his son Bindusar and come away to the south. The concept of welfare state was begun by him. We have seen that yesterday. The Sohagaura and Mahastan inscriptions talk about famine relief measures undertaken by the government of Chandragupta Maurya. At the same time, the Sudarshana Lake was constructed by his governor of Junagadh by name Vaishya Pushagupta. And we have discussed the history of the Sudarshana Lake, which is found on a huge rock boulder at Junagadh in Gujarat. This is called Junagadh rock inscription. And this Junagadh rock inscription, which is found in Gujarat, issued by the Shaka king Rudradaman, gives us the history of the Sudarshana Lake. Then Chandragupta Maurya was succeeded by his son Bindusar. Bindusar conquered South India, the land between the 2 seas, and we've seen these two travelers, 2 ambassadors came to his court. One was the Syrian ambassador, Dimachus, sent by the Syrian king, Antiochus I of Syria. And then the other was Dionysius, who was sent by the king of Egypt. So Dimachus and Dionysius were the 2 ambassadors to the court of Bindusar. And then we have seen what happened, how Ashoka comes to power, um, uh, you know, and there was a fratricidal war. Brothers fought for about 4 years, and Ashoka killed a certain number of his brothers and came to power in 268 BC. Yesterday, I have discussed about Ashoka. He fought the Kalinga War. He conquered Kalinga or modern Orissa in the beginning of the ninth year of his rule. And then, after the Kalinga War, 2.5 years after the Kalinga War, he converted himself to Buddhism according to the Baburu Edict. And he brought in this concept of Dhamma. Then we have discussed the family members of Ashoka, his various wives. Then he created a class of officers called Dhamma Mahamattaras who were sent to different parts of India to propagate Dhamma. And, um, and so we have discussed everything about Ashoka and also about Dhamma. I told you that Dhamma is the Pali way of spelling or pronouncing Dharma. Dharma in Sanskrit, Dhamma in Pali language as such. So he asked people to follow Dhamma, and he told them that if they follow Dhamma, they can reach Swarga or heaven. And basically, Ashoka wanted to maintain peace and amity within his vast empire. We hear of many intersectarian conflicts which happened during his reign. And the reason why he brought in this concept of Dhamma was to maintain peace and order within his vast empire. And he also kept his large bureaucracy busy this way. So here, towards the end of it, I stopped here yesterday, right? What's your doubt, Nikhil? I did not look at the screen when I was giving you an overview of whatever I had done till yesterday. What's your doubt, Nikhil? I did not get you. I will not be able to do anything. Maybe the backend expert will be able to do something about it in case that person has seen it. I am in the midst of a class, Nikhil. You please mail target IS at the rate of byju's.com, or you call your mentor. They should be able to help you. Pihu, I'm coming to that. In the post-Maurya period, we'll be talking about Shatavahanas. Pihu, just hold on. Right? Yeah? Okay, we'll come back here. So just mail the concerned people, Nikhil. They should be able to help you. So we'll come back here. Political history, we have discussed everything about Ashoka. Now, towards the end of his life, can I continue from here onwards? Saumo. Yeah, Pihu, don't worry. We will discuss about Shatavahanas. So here, now whatever is your query, please mail to targetias at the rate of byju's.com. And if you have any subject-related query, please mail me. Subject-related query, please mail me, vijay.kumar at the rate of byju's.com. Now we'll come back here. Any doubts regarding yesterday's class? Any queries? Any questions? So, yeah, medieval will be there. Hari, once I finish ancient, I'll be covering medieval and then art and culture. Yeah, Ankush, I'm coming to that. Just hold on. Who became king after Ashoka? I'm going to come to that. Just hold on. So I move on. Whatever we have done till yesterday. Let me come back here. So we have discussed the Kalinga War, which happened in the beginning of his ninth year. Now let me continue from where I left off yesterday. Now understand this on your screen, all of you. Now, before Ashoka died, he divided his empire into two parts. Ashoka divided his empire into two parts. As you can see on your screen, I have made a chart. The western part of his empire came under his son Kunala. So he kept the western part of his empire under his son Kunala, with Ujjain as capital, Ujjain in Madhya Pradesh. So Ujjain in Madhya Pradesh became the capital of the western part, and Kunala was the king in the western part of his empire. Eastern part, with Patliputra as the capital, was kept under the control of his grandson Dasharatha. So Ashoka's grandson Dasharatha simultaneously ruled the eastern part. So western part Kunala ruled, eastern part Dasharatha, Ashoka's grandson, ruled. Now the son of Kunala, so here Ankush, I answer your question. The person who succeeded Ashoka was Kunala, one of his sons called Kunala. Right? Now, Kunala's son was a person called Samprati. As you can see here on your screen, Samprati was the son of Kunala. And we are told that both Ashoka's son Kunala and his grandson Dasharatha died almost at the same time. Kunala and Dasharatha died almost at the same time, the son and grandson of Ashoka. So that Samprati, who was the son of Kunala, was able to unite both the parts. He united briefly both the western and the eastern parts, and he jointly ruled over these two areas. But after Samprati, we have weak rulers. Weak rulers like Salisuka, Devavarman, Shatadhanvan, and ultimately Brihadratha. Brihadratha was the last Mauryan king, and Brihadratha was a very incapable king, very unpopular also. And he had a commander called Pushyamitra Sunga. He had a commander called Pushyamitra Sunga. So the commander of Brihadratha, by name Pushyamitra Sunga, killed him and founded the Sunga dynasty. Okay, so the Mauryas were succeeded by the Sungas. And this was the end of the Mauryan Empire. So Brihadratha was the last Mauryan ruler. Kavya, I will just hold on. Let us cross the bridge when we arrive there. Now, Ankush, I said yesterday's class, among the children of Ashoka, Rajatarangini tells us, Kalhana's Rajatarangini tells us that Jaloka succeeded Ashoka. According to the Rajatarangini, Kalhana's Rajatarangini. That is according to only one source called the Rajatarangini, written by Kalhana. That Jaloka succeeded Ashoka. But then most of the sources tell us that Ashoka was succeeded by his son Kunala in the western part, and in the eastern part by his grandson Dasharatha. Are you there with me, Ankush? Yes, Bhimara, you're right. Chandragupta Maurya followed Jainism, Ashoka followed Buddhism. You're right. So let us look at Saumya, I'll come to that. Just hold on. I'll come to that when I come to Shunga period. Next chapter, when I come to Shunga period, we'll discuss about all those things. So just hold on. Okay, now we'll come back here. So let us look at the other aspects of Mauryan rule, Mauryan administration, etc. So main source of information for the study of the Mauryas are the Kautilya's Arthashastra, the edicts of Ashoka, and of course Megasthenes' Indica. So these are the three main sources: Kautilya's Arthashastra, the book written by Megasthenes called Indica, and the edicts of Ashoka. And it was a strong centralized administration. All the powers were in the hands of the king or the emperor, and the emperor was the highest legislative, executive, and judicial authority. So all the powers were in the hands of the Mauryan emperor. So it was a centralized administrative system. Now, you see here on your screen, the Mauryan Empire was divided into provinces. Okay, so here that's how it was. Just hold on, I'll show you this. You can see here. So the Mauryan Empire was divided into provinces, subdivided into districts. Provinces were subdivided into districts. Then districts were subdivided into intermediate level. That is between the district and the village. You have an intermediate level of administration, and finally we have a village. So this is how the Mauryan Empire was divided. So empire was divided into provinces, provinces into districts, districts into intermediate level, and then you have a village. In the Mauryan Empire, there were 5 provinces. Understand this? There were 5 provinces, as you can see on your screen. There were 5 provinces. Northern province was called Uttarapatha. With Takshashila as capital. So in bracket, I put C. C means capital here. So don't get confused. C is capital. So Takshashila was the capital of the northern province. The southern province was called Dakshinapatha, with Suvarnagiri as capital. Suvarnagiri was the capital. Then eastern province was called Tosali or Dhauli, with Kalinga as capital. Tosali or Dhauli, with Kalinga as capital. And western province was called Avantipata, with Ujjain as capital. So Takshashala in the north, Suvarnagiri in the south, then Kalinga in the east, and Ujjain in the west. Right? So Uttarapata, Dakshinapata, then Tosali or Dhauli in the east, and Avantipata in the west. And then the central part of the Mauryan Empire was called Prachapatha, Pracha with Patliputra as capital. So the Mauryan Empire was divided into 5 provinces. Now, in every province, so I'll answer your questions, Sindhu. We will discuss the questions at the end of the session. So let me finish this chapter. At the end of the chapter, we'll look at the questions. Then you ask me any doubts if you have regarding what type of questions, etc. We'll come back here. So in every province, you have a governor who was appointed. Understand this? You have a governor in every province who was appointed, and he was called by various names. If he was the son of a king, understand this, if he was the son of a king, he was called Kumara. His designation was Kumara. So Kumara, title given to the son of a king. For example, Susima was the Kumara of Takshashila. He was the Kumara of Taxila, isn't it? Similarly, Ashoka was the Kumara of Ujjain. So the son of a king was designated Kumara. Okay. Now, in some provinces, instead of the son of a king, we have the king's relative who was appointed as governor. Then he was called Aryaputra. For example, the governor could be the king's brother's son, or he could be the king's sister's son, not the king's son, but the king's relative sons. So he was designated as Aryaputra. So both the governors, but called either Kumara or Aryaputra. Right? This is at the provincial level. Then below the provinces came the district. The district was called Ahara. District was called Ahara. 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 Akshara. Aryaputra was the son of a king. He was called Aryaputra, so the son of a king, and he was appointed as the governor of many provinces of a particular province. In case, sorry, Kumara was the son of a king. Aryaputra was a member of the royal family. He could be the king's relative who was appointed as the governor of a province. Did you understand? Aryaputra, Akshara. Clear? Akshara, okay, now we'll come back here. Below the province came a district. Districts were called Ahara, and there were 3 officers at the district level. You have a Pradeshika, a Rajuka, and a Yukta. Pradeshika was the district head. As you can see on your screen, he was the district head. He maintained law and order, and he was in charge of revenue collection. So L and O is law and order. He maintained law and order, and he was in charge of revenue collection. Then the Rajuka was in charge of rural administration and justice. The Rajuka was in charge of rural administration and justice. And Rajuka was equivalent to the modern day district collector. He was equivalent to the modern day district collector, the Rajuka. And then you have Yukta, who was the secretarial staff, that is clerical staff, supporting or giving support to the Pradeshika and the Rajuka. So please understand, the Mauryan official who is equivalent to the modern day district collector was the Rajuka. Right? Then we come to intermediate level, that is below the district and above the village. Something like a taluk, a group of villages, intermediate level. We have a Stanika, who was the tax collector, and the Gopa, who was an accountant. So 2 officers at the intermediate level, Stanika, the tax collector, and Gopa, who was the accountant. And then you have a village. Under a village headman called Gramika. Okay? Right? And you just strike off this. This is not correct. Agronoma indica, that just strike off that, please. So village headman was called Gramika. So this is how the Mauryan administration, Mauryan Empire was divided. Empire divided into provinces, subdivided into districts. Below came the intermediate level, and then finally the village. Clear? Modern day district collector, DC, the head of the district magistrate of a district. He is the representative of the district at the district level. He is a representative of the government at the district level. Akshara, deputy commissioner or district collector, called by various names in various states. Akshara, district collector. So once you pass your IAS and you're an IAS officer, you finish your training, and within about 5 years, you become the district collector, the head of a district. Right? 5 to 7 years, you're the district collector. Okay, we'll come back here. Clear? All of you? Hello? All of you, are you clear? Can you raise your hands? Can I move on? Okay. Then we have the central administration. There were 4 levels of officers here. Understand this? So they might ask you like this. So there's an arrow mark from top to down. This is how the officers were graded. Tirthas, Adhyakshas, Mahamattas, Amatyas. So topmost official at the central level were the Tirthas. Below came the Adhyakshas. Below the Adhyakshas came the Mahamattas. And then below them came the Amatyas. Yeah, Shalini, tell me. Ask me, what is the question you have, Shalini? Okay, so central administration, Shalini, yeah, medieval history comes in both prelims and mains. Yes, certain topics can come from medieval India also, like Sufi Bhakti movement, right? They can ask you. Vijayanagara again comes in medieval India. They've asked about Vijayanagara in the mains, specifically with respect to Krishnadevaraya and his contribution towards literature. So they could ask you. We'll discuss that when we come there. Okay, now central administration, we have 4 levels of officers: Tirthas, Adhyakshas, Mahamattas, Amatyas. Now, let us understand each of these central government officials. Tirthas, totally there were 18 Tirthas. Understand this? There were 18 Tirthas. Totally there were 18 Tirthas, and they formed the inner council. They formed the inner council. They formed the inner council, right? The Tirthas, 18 Tirthas, they formed the inner council, and they were apart from the council of ministers. So you have the council of ministers who were a separate body. They used to advise the king, but then the Tirthas who were 18 in number, were forming the inner council, very, very close to the emperor. It is something like the president's kitchen cabinet. The American president has a kitchen cabinet, very, very close group of people who are very close to the president of America, and whatever he wants to discuss very, very privately, very, very important things, he doesn't want to others to know, other ministers to know. He will discuss with this close group of people. So like that, you have 18 Tirthas. They were apart from the Council of Ministers. Let us understand who these Tirthas were. So the highest category of officials with the Tirthas, they form the inner council. Now, who are the important Tirthas? I have not given all the 18. I have given you most of the important ones on your screen. Mantrin, Chief Minister. Purohita, Chief Priest. Senapati, Commander-in-Chief. CNC is Commander-in-Chief. Commander-in-Chief of the army. So Commander-in-Chief. Then Yuvaraja, Crown Prince. So among the 18 Tirthas, the first 4 were the topmost level. First 4 were the topmost category. Mantrin, the Purohita, the Senapati, and the Yuvaraja. Then we have other Tirthas. Dauvarika, in charge of the palace. He was in charge of the palace, Dauvarika. Samaharta, Chief Collector of Taxes. Samaharta. Sannidhata, Treasury Chief. He was head of the Treasury. Prasastri, IG of Prisons, Inspector General of Prisons. Inspector General of Prisons, IG of Prisons. Antarvesika. Antarvesika is chief of the harem. Now, what's a harem? What's a harem? Harem is where women are kept. You see, those days, unfortunately, women were objects. I'm using the word object, so don't mistake me, but that's how it was. Unfortunately, women were reduced to objects of lust and possession. Now, somebody wants to curry favors from the emperor. He wants to get some favors from the emperor. He will bring a lot of wealth, let us say diamond, gold, etc. And along with that, something very tasty to eat. It could be some exotic fruit or some special dish he has cooked or got cooked. And then he will also bring some along with him some beautiful women. And he will present all these as a gift to the emperor. Now, the emperor will not take all these women into the palace. There'll be a separate, a separate building where such women were kept, and that was called the harem, right? So in ancient India only we had harems, and Kautilya mentions about it in his Arthashastra. All these details are found in Kautilya's Arthashastra. So women were kept there, and whenever the emperor felt like, he will visit the harem and he'll come back. And you have generally, eunuchs or transgenders who were posted in the harem to take care of the women of the harem. Whatever they required, everything was supplied by the eunuchs there. And there was an officer also who would take care of the affairs of the harem. So that was called Antarvesika, the chief of the harem. Then Nayaka, city constable. Vyavaharika, chief judge. Vyavaharika. Dandapal, police chief. Antapal, chief of frontier defense, in charge of the border areas, front areas, Antapal. So these are the important tirthas, highest category of officials. They were apart from the council of ministers. They were very, very close to the emperor, and they formed the inner council. Are you there with me? This is the tirthas, highest category of officials. Yeah, you can call them as um, yeah, yeah. Concubines, you can use that word concubine. The thing is, among the women in the harem, if the emperor wants, he could make one of the girl in the harem his chief queen if he wanted it. It all depended upon the emperor. Okay, so these are the tirthas. Then we come to adhyakshas. So next category, you can see here, I have arranged it accordingly. Eighth point is what? Prashasti, IG of Prisons, Inspector General of Prisons, Saminder, he was the IG of Prisons, Inspector General of Prisons, head of the prison department. Are you understand? Prashastri, okay, right. So you have the tirthas. We have discussed the tirthas. Then we have adhyakshas. There were 27 departments with 26 adhyakshas. Understand this? Second category of officials were the adhyakshas. There were 27 departments with 26 adhyakshas. They mostly perform economic functions and some military duties. So mostly economic functions, these performed. The only department without an adhyaksha was the fisheries department. So there were 27 departments. Each department was headed by an adhyaksha. But then only the fisheries department did not have an adhyaksha. So 27 departments with 26 adhyakshas. So let us understand. Right? So here, let us look at the important adhyakshas on your screen. So everything ends with adhyaksha here. So Ankush is asking why left 5 are not given here. That will be, you'll find it in the textbook, Ankush, right? I found it important. These out of the 18, I found these important. I have put it. The rest 5 are there in the textbook. You go through the textbook, you'll get it. Now look here on your screen. Akara Adhyaksha. So every official ends with the term Adhyaksha. So the first part of the word is very important. So the second part ends with Adhyaksha. So Akara Adhyaksha. You can see here Akara Adhyaksha. Akara means mines and minerals. Akara Adhyaksha. Akapala Adhyaksha. Accounts, in charge of accounts. Kupya Adhyaksha. Forest produce. Lakshana Adhyaksha. Mint, where coins are minted. Lakshana. Panya Adhyaksha. Trade and commerce. Pautava Adhyaksha or Tulamana Adhyaksha, weights and measures. Sita Adhyaksha, crown lands. What are crown lands? Crown lands are those lands which were under the control of the emperor. So whatever is grown in the crown land, all the proceeds will go to the emperor. It is tax free. So whatever is grown in the crown land is the emperor's personal, the personal belonging. So it is tax free. That's called crown lands. So Sita, crown lands. Then Shulka, customs and tolls. Then Shura, excise. That is um, alcohol drinks, excise department. Then Sutra, handlooms. Vivita Adhyaksha, pasture lands, in charge of grasslands, pasture lands. Samstha Adhyaksha, markets, check wrong practices. Then Pattana Adhyaksha, in charge of ports. So these are the important Adhyakshas, 27 departments with 26 Adhyakshas. The only department without an Adhyaksha was the fisheries department. So these are the important Adhyakshas. So Tirthas, Adhyakshas. Sanskrit, Bhimare, this is the Arthashastra is written in Sanskrit. And we get all these details from the Arthashastra. Okay, Bhimare. So this is Sanskrit here. We'll come back here. So Pritirthas Adhyakshas. Then we come to Mahamattas, third category of officials at the central level. Third category. So Mahamattas, high-ranking officials, irrespective of the duties assigned to them. So they perform different duties, economic, civil, military, etc. So Arthashastra uses the term in the sense of a minister. So they might have been a ministerial advisory council. They might have been a ministerial advisory council. So let us understand the important Mahamattas. So let us look at the important Mahamattas. Again, these officials end with Mahamattas. Mahamatta, the designation of these officials end with the term Mahamatta. On your screen, Vaharika Mahamatta. Vaharika Mahamatta, judicial officer. So then Senanaya Mahamatta, military officer, Senanaya. Then Donamapaka Mahamatta, assessment officer. Dhamma Mahamatta, officer for Dhamma. Sabatakka Mahamatta, chief minister. Amta Mahamatta, in charge of frontier areas, border areas. Itijaka Mahamatta, officer in charge of women or harem. So these are the important Mahamattas. Itijaka Mahamatta, in charge of harem. Then we have Amatyas. Amatyas were the secretaries who function in various administrative and judicial capacities. They could be called as equivalent to the modern day secretaries. Amatyas were equal to the modern day secretaries. Secretary is generally the head of a department. So Amatya functioned in various administrative and judicial capacities, and he is equivalent to the modern day secretary. So Rajuka was equal to the modern day district collector, DC, or deputy commissioner at the district level. Amatya was equal to the modern day secretary. Frontier, Samindar, frontier is border areas. Frontier area, border areas. Samindar, are you there with me? Frontier areas, border areas. Okay. Then we come to judicial administration. Judicial administration, you see, the king was the highest court of justice. The king was the highest judicial authority. So he was the highest court of justice, and you have uh, judiciary, which was divided into two parts: civil cases and criminal cases. So civil courts were called dharmastya. Civil courts were called dharmastya, and criminal courts were called kantaka shodhana. Kantaka shodhana. These are criminal courts. So you have civil and criminal courts separate. And then Megasthenes, who was the ambassador of Seleucus Nicator to the court of Chandragupta Maurya, he tells us that crimes were very, very less in the Mauryan Empire because people were very, very morally upright. They were morally honest. And that is the reason why crimes were very less, he says. But again, he is wrong. No, Megasthenes is wrong in his observation. Of course, the crimes were very less in the Mauryan Empire. Not because that the people of the Mauryan Empire were having high moral standards or high moral values. The main reason was because of a very harsh penal code. The punishment was very, very harsh. So it was because of a very harsh penal code. So somebody robs more than 40 panams, more than 40 panas, the punishment was death. So immediately he was killed by the government. Less than 40 panas, it was mutilation of limbs. That is cutting of fingers, hands, wrist, nose, ears, etc. So this was the punishment, and people were very obviously very, very afraid to commit crimes. So therefore, we see very less crimes, not because people had high moral values, right? Then you have also trial by ordeal, that is divine tests, proved by divine tests. The capital punishments were given for petty crimes. What is capital punishment? Death sentence. Capital punishment means death sentence. Death sentence. So death sentence existed during the Mauryan period, and you also have trial by ordeal. What is called divine tests? What is trial by ordeal? I'll give you an example, a hypothetical example. Let's say there's a servant called A working in somebody's house. So a rich landlord's house. Let us say there's a rich landlord and he's got many servants. But this servant boy called A is accused of theft. There's no proof that he has robbed, but everybody is suspecting him. So how to prove whether he is guilty or he is not guilty? So let us say I'm explaining to you what is divine test or trial by ordeal. Let's say they put up a bed of coal, hot burning coal, and they will tell this boy called A, in your bare foot, with your bare foot, you walk on this hot burning coal. If nothing happens to your feet, that means you're innocent. If it is burned, that means you're guilty. This is called trial by ordeal. Or that person will be made to drink poison. If nothing happens to him, he is innocent. If he dies, then he is guilty. Did you understand? That is called trial by ordeal. Then we have, of course, the espionage department, spy department. Espionage is spy department headed by Mahamatya Pasarpa. Mahamatya Pasarpa. So people who might be having difficulty pronouncing these words, I've always told you, divide it into 2 or 3 parts. So, for example, Mahamatya Pasarpa. You see here, Mahamatya Pasarpa. Mahamatya Pasarpa. Becomes easy. So he was head of the spy department, and you have Kautilya. He calls these spies as Guda Purushas. Understand this? Kautilya calls spies as Guda Purushas. Guda Purushas. In Ashokan edicts, spies are called Pativedakas and Pulasinis. Ashokan edicts calls the spies as Pativedakas and Pulasinis, and Megasthenes calls them as overseers, all referring to spies. I repeat, Kautilya calls these spies as Guda Purushas. Ashokan edicts calls them as Pativedakas and Pulasanis, whereas Megasthenes calls them as overseers, all referring to spies. Then we have different types of spies as mentioned by Kautilya. For example, Sanchari. Sanchari spy. So who is a Sanchari spy? Touring spy. Touring spy. So he is going from place to place and collecting information. He's called Sanchari. Smastha spy. Smastha. That is stationary spy. Stationary spy. So he is in one place. He is not moving from place to place. Let us say he has taken the garb of a mendicant or a beggar, and so he has put the he has put the garb of a mendicant or a saint or a beggar, and then he's collecting information, right? So he is a smasta spy. And then we have Vishakanyas. Vishakanyas. Vishakanyas are literally poisonous girls. So here, these were spies, female spies. From a young age, a small dose of poison was administered to such girls. So, and they are good looking also. So when they grow up, they have high resistance to poison because from a young age, small dose of poison would have been administered. So they would have developed resistance to poison as such, to a large dose of poison as such. Now, let's say from a neighboring kingdom, some spy has come. And this girl is informed, Vishakanya is informed that so and so is a spy. That person in the market is a spy from a neighboring empire or a kingdom. So she will get friendly with him. She'll create a situation where they'll come in contact with each other, and then she'll befriend him. She's also good looking, so the other spy will not believe that she's actually a spy, and then he might fall in love with her also. But whenever she gets a chance, finds an opportunity, she will kill him. So all these details are given by Kautilya in his Arthashastra, Sancharis, Masta, Vishakanyas, etc. They were spies, Kennedy. They were one category of spies, Vishakanyas, basically female spies, right? What is called honey trap, even nowadays, even during the First World War, Second World War, many of the countries used to use women spies. They were called honey traps, and they're very good looking, like models, like film actresses or models. And people will not, the enemy country will not know that this lady could be a spy. She'll be so beautiful, and they have, and her beauty will camouflage her real intentions. So many honey traps were used even during the First and the Second World War by various countries. Okay, Sindhu, Megasthenes. Did you miss yesterday's class, Sindhu? Megasthenes was the ambassador sent to the court of Chandragupta Maurya by Seleucus Nicator. Okay, Seleucus Nicator was defeated by Chandragupta Maurya, and he sent Megasthenes to the court of Chandragupta Maurya. Right. Then let us come to the accounts of Megasthenes. We get a lot of information from Megasthenes. He was the ambassador sent to the court of Chandragupta Maurya by Seleucus Nicator. And Megasthenes, as you all know, wrote a book called Indica. He writes a book called Indica. Original Indica has been lost. Original Indica was lost. How we don't know how it went, how it was lost, where it went, etc. But then many Greek and Roman writers who had read the original Indica in the original, quote extensively from the Indica. So many Greek and Roman writers quote from the Indica, and we come to know indirectly from the Indica what Megasthenes had told us. Now we get a lot of information from Megasthenes' Indica. So let us understand that. First of all, Megasthenes talks about the Mauryan military administration. So Megasthenes gives us information about the Mauryan military administration. He says that the Mauryan military was run by a military board. Understand this? It was run by a military board. The Mauryan military or Mauryan armed forces was run by a military board consisting of 30 members. Understand this? It consisted of 30 members totally. And these 30 members were divided into 6 committees of 5 members each. 6 committees of 5 members each. So there were 6 committees. Okay, there were 6 committees. Each committee had 5 members. So 6 into 5 is equal to 30. All right, 6 into 5 is equal to 30. Now, each committee was in charge of a particular wing of the armed forces. There were 6 wings in the Mauryan armed forces. So what are the 6 wings? We have an infantry, cavalry, then chariots, war chariots, then an elephant corps, elephants. So infantry, cavalry, chariots, elephants. Then a navy, and then war commissariat. That is providing logistics to the other wings of the armed forces. Infantry, cavalry, chariots, elephants, navy, war commissariat. So this is the information given by Megasthenes. Mauryan armed forces was run by a military board consisting of 30 members divided into 6 committees of 5 members each. Did you understand that? Ankush, I'm not so sure about that part. Maybe, I don't know. This is about the Mauryan military administration given by Megasthenes. Then he gives information. Who Megasthenes gives us information about the city of Patliputra. He gives us information about the city of Patliputra. The capital of the Mauryas was Patliputra, as you all know. And he tells us that Patliputra was run by a board. Understand this? He says Patliputra was run by a board or a commission. It was run by a board or a commission. Again, it consisted of 30 members. It consisted of 30 members, this board or a commission, divided into 6 committees of 5 members each. 6 committees of 5 members each. So 6 into 5 is equal to 30. And there were 6 committees looking after various aspects of the city administration of Patliputra, including entertainment of foreigners, registration of births and deaths, public sale of manufactured goods, industry and crafts, etc. So you can see here on your screen, just hold on your screen, look at the chart here. These are the 6 committees which looked after various aspects of the administration of Patliputra. Industry and crafts. First committee looked after industry and crafts. Second committee, entertainment of foreigners. Third committee, registration of births and deaths. Fourth committee, trade and commerce, weights and measures. Fifth committee, manufactured goods. And the sixth committee, collection of taxes on the goods sold, 1/10 of the purchase price. So these are the 6 committees which looked after various aspects of the city of Patliputra. And there was a mayor here. Understand this? There was a mayor, something like the modern mayor. There was an officer called Nagarika. He was the head of the city administration, Nagarika. In fact, you have a city council. He talks about a city council called Estinomoi. Estinomoi. So this was a city council. There was a city council called Estinomoi. And this city council was headed by the Nagarika. The Nagarika was the head of the city, Estinomoi. And Nagarika was assisted by 2 officers, a Sthanika and a Gopa. A Sthanika and a Gopa. These 2 officials assisted the Nagarika. And Nagarika is equivalent to the modern day mayor. Is equal to the modern day mayor. And Rakshin was the police chief. So something like the police commissioner of a city, Rakshin. So Rakshin was the police chief of the city. So all these details are given by Megasthenes. Did you understand? So the city of Patliputra was run by a city council called Estinomai, headed by a mayor or a Nagarika, assisted by 2 officers, Thanika and Gopa. Rakshin was the police chief. Now, historians presume, understand this, historians presume that just as Patliputra was run by a city council, probably other Mauryan cities were also run on similar lines. That's the presumption made by historians. Clear? Can you raise your hands? Are you there with me, all of you? Okay, right. So again, we'll discuss this. You can see on your screen, Megasthenes was the ambassador of Seleucus Nicator to the court of Chandragupta Maurya. He writes a book called Indica, and then Indica gives the following information. You can see here on your screen, Mauryan military run by a board of 30 members, divided into 6 committees of 5 members each. Each committee was in charge of a particular wing of the armed forces: infantry, cavalry, elephantry, chariotry, navy, war commissariat. Then he talks about the city of Patliputra, which was run by a city council called Estinomai. It consisted of 30 members, divided into 6 committees of 5 members each. Each committee was entrusted with a particular work, namely all these things, industry and crafts, etc. Head of the city administration was a Nagarika, assisted by 2 officials, Sthanika and Gopa. Rakshin was the police commissioner. And please understand, Mauryas were the first in the world to introduce census. So we can see here the third committee dealt with registration of births and deaths. So they were the first in the world to introduce census. Census, as you all know, is to allocate scarce resources. To allocate scarce resources, census is done. That is the count of births and deaths. Rakshin was the head of the city police. Ankush, he was the head of the city police. Rakshin. Okay. Dandapal was the head of the department. Okay, so he was among the 18 Tirthas. Dandapal was the head of the something like the DGP. Okay, Rakshin was the police commissioner. The DGP is the head of the police department, isn't it? In a state, entire. I generally is always an IPS officer. Senior most police official becomes the DGP, Director General of Police. Okay, right. Then we come to other information given by Megasthenes. Megasthenes divides the Mauryan society into 7 classes. Understand this? Megasthenes divides the Mauryan society into 7 classes. But please understand, he mistook occupation for caste. He mistook occupation for caste. So this is more an economic division of society than a societal division. So when he saw people working on the farm, he called them as cultivators, right? When he saw a priest, he called them philosopher. So he mistook occupation for caste. So here on your screen, as you can see, these are the this is how he divides the Mauryan society into philosophers. So basically, here you have, probably was referring to Brahmins, the priestly classes, cultivators, the farmers, then soldiers, herdsmen, that is to those who graze the cattle, herdsmen, then artisans, magistrates, and councillors. So divides the Mauryan society into 7 classes. He failed to mention the traders and merchants. He failed to mention about traders and merchants. So this is more an economic division than a social division. Okay, this is more of a economic division than a social division. See, Saminder, I think if I remember correctly, the first modern census was introduced by Lord Ripon, if I'm correct. If my memory serves me right, it has been ages since I read Modern India, but I think it was Lord Ripon who introduced modern census here in India, right? Herdsmen who take the cattle for grazing, the herding of cattle or sheep, that's called herdsmen. Okay, so he failed to mention the traders and merchants. So this is another information given by Megasthenes. Then Megasthenes also tells us that there was absence of slavery and usury in India. In the Mauryan Empire, there was no slavery, he says. But here he is incorrect. Here he is incorrect. He says there was absence of slavery and usury. What is usury? Money lending. And he says there was absence of slavery in Mauryan Empire. Was he correct? Was there slavery in the Mauryan Empire? Yes or no? If yes, what is the proof we have? Slavery existed in the Mauryan Empire or not? Yeah. What is the proof we have slavery existence? Jaswant says rock addict. Very good, Jaswant. Nancy says yes. So everybody has said, uh, yes. Bhimre says can married. Okay. So here slavery very much existed. How do we know this? For example, Ashoka in his rock edicts calls upon the people to treat the slaves in a humane manner, in a kind and humane manner. That's one proof we have. Then secondly, we have the Kalinga War, 13th major rock edict of Ashoka. What does Ashoka say in the 13th major rock edict about the Kalinga War? He says 1 lakh people were killed, 1.5 lakh people were taken prisoners, he says. So 1.5 lakh people were made prisoners of war. So they were reduced to slavery. And what did Ashoka do with these 1.5 lakh slaves of Kalinga War? They were used to they were used in forced labor in the extension and intensification of agriculture. So slavery very much existed, but then Megasthenes failed to notice it. Why did he fail to notice the existence of slavery in the Mauryan Empire simply because we in India used to treat our slaves in a humane manner, not in an inhuman manner has it existed in ancient Greece and Rome. So in ancient Greece and Rome, they were made gladiators, they were tortured, forcibly made to do forced labor, etc., whipped, and even killed as such. But then in India, to a large extent, most of the people used to treat their slaves in a very, very humane manner, giving them boarding, lodging facilities, food, etc. So therefore, he failed to notice the existence of slavery, Megasthenes. At the same time, he says usury did not exist in India. What is usury? Money lending. Again, he's wrong. Money lending very much existed in the Mauryan Empire. The minimum rate of interest on borrowed money was 15%. Minimum interest was 15% up to 60% per annum. So this was the rate of interest on money borrowed, minimum 15%, maximum 60% per annum. Then Megasthenes tells us that there were no famines in India. Again, he is incorrect. He says there were no famines in India, but we know that famines existed. What is the proof we have? Yeah, thank you, Nancy. You're right. Nancy is right. Chandragupta married Mura. Bhimara is also right. So famines, come on, tell me. How do we know that famines existed in the Mauryan Empire? Yeah, Chandragupta Maurya migrated to South India when there was a famine going on in the Magadha region. Very good, Ankush. Buddhism and Jainism, Hemalata. Jainism got divided into two sections, not Buddhism, Jainism. You're right. Again, we have the Sohagaura and Mahastan inscriptions. Sohagaura, Sohagaura and Mahastan inscriptions talk about famine relief measures. Talk about famine relief measures undertaken by the government of Chandragupta Maurya. What all ameliorative steps, corrective steps, what all ameliorative steps or corrective steps were taken by the government of Chandragupta Maurya when a famine struck. So these details are found in Sohagaura and Mahastan inscriptions. So famines have existed very much in the Mauryan Empire, but then Megasthenes failed to notice it. And then he says there were very low crime rate and high moral values. Very low crime rates were because of high moral values. Again, he is incorrect. Very less crime rate was because of a harsh penal code. Because of a very strict penal code, very harsh penal code, very strict punishments were given, including mutilation of limbs and capital punishment or death sentence. People were very, very scared of, therefore, committing crimes. Right? So please remember what all information Megasthenes gives, and here and there he is wrong. He was looking at things from the eyes of a foreigner, so therefore he cannot be blamed entirely because when he was looking at the Indian society, economy, polity, etc., he was looking at from the eyes of a foreigner, and therefore he has made certain observations incorrectly. Right? Now let us come to Mauryan society. Just hold on. So let us talk about the Mauryan society. So here we have the fourfold Varna system, which was not functioning smoothly. The Brahmana, Kshatriya, Vaishya, Shudra, because of rapid economic changes. So fourfold Varna system, that is the Brahmana, Kshatriya, Vaishya, Shudra. It was not running smoothly because of rapid economic changes. And what do you mean by rapid economic changes? You see, the Mauryas ruled over almost the whole of India, from parts of Afghanistan to the river Kaveri. And They brought peace and law and order throughout the extensive empire. Um, Here, what happened is, since they established law and order, peace and amity throughout the empire, it was found practical, prudent on the part of Vaishyas to take to trading than agriculture. Vaishyas were the ones who used to do agriculture. Some Vaishyas also were trading, but most of the Vaishyas initially were doing agriculture. But once you have peace and order, maintained, law and order maintained, and Vaishyas found it more lucrative, more profitable to do trading. So they left agriculture and they began to do trading. They took to trade. So there was a dearth of laborers on the farms. There was shortage of uh, farm workers because all the Vaishyas had most of them had taken to trade because it was more profitable to engage in trade. So therefore, the Mauryan government encouraged Shudras to take to agriculture. The Mauryan government encouraged Shudras to take to agriculture because of shortage of labor. So that resulted in the Shudra economic condition of the Shudras improving. Economic condition of the Shudras improved because now they were earning wages and they had more money in their pockets. But their social position remained the same. The social position remained the same. This is one thing you need to remember. So, reduction of gap between the Vaishyas and the Shudras. Here, when I say reduction of gap, it is economic gap, not social gap, economic gap. And improvement in the economic position of the Shudras, but socially they remain the same. Then we have the popularity of heterodox sects. That is, who are the heterodox sects? That is the Buddhism, Jainism, then Charvak, then Ajivika sect. They were all called heterodox sect. Heterodox because they oppose the existing belief systems. They're called heterodox because they oppose the existing belief system. What is the existing belief system here? The Vedic religion. They were all opposed to the Vedic religion. Therefore, they're called heterodox. So you have popularity of heterodox sects like Buddhism, Jainism, Charvaka, Lokayata, then of course Ajivika sect, etc. Now, many of the Varna system was made rigid by the Brahmanas initially. Varna system, Brahmana, Kshatriya, Vaishya, Shudra. That Varna system was made very rigid by the Brahmanas initially. The Brahmanas are the ones, the Brahmins were the ones who were the ancient law writers, lawgivers. Why did they make it very strict, or why did they make the Varna system rigid? Because of interracial marriages. So many foreigners came to India, Greeks, Romans, etc. They all came to India, and many of them married Indian women or had relationship with Indian women. The father is a foreigner, the mother is an Indian. So the children born to such mixed races had to be accommodated in the Mauryan society. Do you understand? Understand the complication here during those days. Father is a foreigner. Father is a foreigner. Okay, he may be a Greek or a Roman. Mother is a Indian. Mother is an Indian. Now they have a family, so they'll have children. So you have children who are of mixed races, right? Now, where to allot them position in the society? Can you make the children born to such mixed races? Can you accommodate them in the Brahmin Varna or in the Kshatriya Varna or in the Vaishya Varna or the Shudra Varna? So initially there was a lot of confusion. Because of that reason, the Varna system was made very, very rigid during the Mauryan period. And later, you have these mixed races, these foreigners who were given the status of second-class Kshatriyas. So till that happened, the society was made very, very, very rigid, and that is one of the reasons why Ashoka brought in this concept of Dhamma. So his Dhamma was meant to establish harmony, social harmony, tolerance towards each other's sects, etc. So that was the main reason why he brought about Dhamma in order to maintain peace and stability as such. Are you there with me, all of you? Right. Then we have clear. Then we have Megasthenes. Women. We have various information given about women's position Each of these sources give us different opinions. For example, Megasthenes says there was polygamy. What's polygamy? One man having more than one wife. So you have polygamy, employment of women as palace guards, bodyguards of kings, spies, etc. There was also permission for widow remarriage, he says. That is the opinion given by Megasthenes. The Brahminical literature gives a low status for women. The Brahminical textbooks say that women had less status, low status in the society. Buddhist literature gives a considerate treatment of women. So it treats the women in a very considerate manner. We have prevalence of slavery and forced labor. So slavery existed in the Mauryan society. We have forced labor also. And that is forced labor is called Vishti. And the officer in charge of forced labor was called Vishti Vandaka. Vishti Vandaka. Officer in charge of forced labor. In charge of forced labor. Was called Vishti Vandaka. Existence of Hinaja or outcasts. So who are Hinajas? That is below the Shudras. They were below the Shudras and they were considered to be outcasts. They were made to stay outside the precincts of the village, outside the boundaries of the village. Shudras could stay in the village, but inside the boundary of the village. But then outcasts or Hinajas were made to stay outside the boundaries of the village. So this is about Mauryan society. Then we come to economy. To understand this, very simple. The Mauryas ruled over a huge empire from parts of Afghanistan to the river Kaveri. And they had a huge army. Mauryans had a huge army. According to some sources, 6 lakh infantry. So it was a huge army. And also they had a huge bureaucracy. We can presume the existence of a very huge bureaucracy. Now, therefore, the Mauryan government took a proactive role in running the economic affairs of the country. It took a proactive role. So you have the Mauryan state engaging in trade and commodity production, controlling almost all economic activities. So new cities were founded, new towns and cities were founded, dead cities were rejuvenated. Okay, so new settlements were founded, decaying ones were rejuvenated, and we have Shudras were encouraged by the state to take up farming. So I've already told you that. And then certain areas were state monopolies. So nobody else was allowed to do these things. For example, armor and weapon making. Armor and weapon making. It was a state monopoly. Weapon making. Building of ships. Building of ships. Right? So armor and weapon making, building of ships. Then um, excise. So all these were mining, excise. All these were basically state monopolies. So nobody else was allowed to do these things except the state. Then Arthashastra says that slaves were employed in agricultural operations, and the king's share, the main source of income, was the land revenue, which was called bhaga. Bhaga was the land tax, 1/4 to 1/6 of the gross produce, 25% to 33%. So that was the main source of revenue for the government, land tax, taxes collected from the farmers, 1/4 to 1/6 of the gross produce. And the Mauryas collected a number of taxes. Collected many taxes. One was Sena Bhaktam. What is Sena Bhaktam? Taxes collected from the army by the collected from the people by the army. So if a Mauryan army is passing through a particular village or a city, taxes were collected from the people for the army. That's called Sena Bhaktam. Pranaya was an emergency tax. Vartani was a road tax. Nishkramya, export duty. Vishti, forced labor. Forced labor was called Vishti. And Arthashastra tells us that there were various sources of income for the king, like land, mines, minerals, forests, roads, cattle. So these were all the sources of income for the Mauryan king: land, mines, minerals, forests, roads, etc. Right? Bureaucracy is officers in the administration. Saminder, there are different levels of officers in the administration. Bureaucracy. Um, See, Sati Hari in Sati has a practice began in the later Vedic period. So when it existed in the modern period also, even during the time of Rajaram Mohan Roy, it existed, Sati existed. So obviously it must have existed even in the Mauryan period. Understand? Sati as a practice was banned only in 1829 by William Bentinck. So, obviously in the Mauryan period also, Sati must have existed. Yeah, gold, silver, copper, ankush, the various minerals found under the bowels of the earth, right? Minerals, metals basically. Yeah, that's what it is. Then Arthashastra talks about a water tax. Arthashastra talks about a water tax, one-fifth to one-third of the gross produce. One-fifth to one-third of the gross produce. And as I told you, certain areas were monopoly of the state: mining, armor and weapon making, brewing of liquor, shipbuilding. They were all state monopolies. Suradyaksha supervised all breweries. What is brewery? Brewery is where you brew wine, liquor. So Suradyaksha was the officer who supervised all the breweries. Suradyaksha. The royal highway ran from Takshashila to Patliputra. Takshashila in Pakistan. So Takshashila to Patna. And so the royal highway ran from Takshashila, which is now in Pakistan, to all the way to Patliputra or Patna. So it was a big highway, royal highway. And we have frequent mention of the port of Bharukacha or Bharuch in Gujarat or Broch in Gujarat. And Megasthenes says that this officer called agronomoi was in charge of laying and maintenance of roads. This officer called agronomoi was in charge of laying and maintenance of roads. The Royal Highway, that was the main highway, Royal Highway, which ran from Takshashila to Patliputra. One-fifth is how much? One-fifth is 20%. Yeah. How can it be 15%? 20%. Akshara. Okay. Then rate of interest on money lent 15% to 60% per annum. So it was a huge amount of interest, 60%. Minimum was 15% on money borrowed. Maximum was 60%. Why 60%? Let's say there is a international trader during the Mauryan period. So he is going away abroad on a ship. There's no guarantee that he'll come back alive during those days. Nowadays also there's no guarantee. We don't know what's going to happen tomorrow. To each one of us, we don't know. Life is so uncertain. But at least we know because of technology, there is a much better chance of survival when we use ships and planes nowadays, isn't it? Unlike those days during the Mauryan period. So let us say a trader, international trader, has borrowed money from a moneylender. That moneylender has given him a huge amount of money as loan, and there's no guarantee that this person might come back alive. Therefore, he will charge 60% interest on the money lent, right? So it was a huge amount of interest, 60%. And Rumindai, as I've told you, this is the only Ashokan or Mauryan inscription which makes a specific reference to taxation, Mauryan taxation. Ashoka reduced the tax payable by the people of Lumbini to 1/8. When he visited Lumbini in the 21st year of his reign, Lumbini, the birthplace of the Buddha. And Shreni is enjoyed good social standing. That is artisan guilds. What are artisan guilds? What's a guild? Guild is an association of merchants dealing with the same commodity. Guild or a Shreni is association of merchants, generally dealing with the same commodity. Generally dealing with the same commodity. So, for example, a Shreni of weavers, a Shreni or a guild of weavers, a Shreni of potters, etc. These are all examples of Shreni. Do you understand? Shreni, association of merchants generally dealing with the same commodity. So here, let's say I am a weaver. Imagine I'm a weaver. All of us are weavers. Whoever is there across the on the other side of the camera. Let us take a hypothetical example. So we are all, let us say we are about 400 of us. So therefore, we all have an association, right? And let's say we make our own rules. Let's say we are potters. We have our own association, and let's say this is the size of a pot. Let's say this is the size of a pot. So we have a rule. What's the rule? That's called Shreni Dharma. That nobody will sell pot of this size less than uh, or less than 10 rupees. So minimum 5 rupees, maximum 10 rupees. Nobody can sell this size pot for more than 10 rupees. Minimum 5 rupees, maximum 10 rupees. That's called Shreni Dharma. Shreni Dharma is the rule made by the Shreni to regulate its trade. That's called Shreni Dharma. Okay, now we have something called Shreni Bala. Shreni Bala. What is Shreni Bala? The Shrenis or a guild of merchants will have their own militia or an army. Let's say we are all weavers, right? So, and there is a order which we have received, which our guild has received. Some merchant or trader wants a few lakh pieces of clothes. Let's say 10 lakh pieces of clothes of a particular variety. So all of us will join together and we will manufacture different amounts of these 10 lakh pieces, and then we accumulate all those 10 lakh pieces, and we are going to transport these 10 lakh pieces of cloth from, let us say, point A to point B. And this is about, let us say, 100 kilometers away. Point B is 100 kilometers away. And we all load it on hundreds of bullock carts. Let us say on 500 bullock carts, we load all these 10 lakh pieces of clothes. Now, and when these bullock carts are going from point A to point B, somebody might try to steal them. Somebody might try to rob those that load or consignment, etc. So, therefore, an army or a militia will accompany these bullock carts so that safely all the goods are carried to point B from point A and unloaded, and then they'll bring back the money safely. So that's called Shreni Bala. So Shreni Dharma, Shreni Bala. Did you understand what I'm saying here? So here you have the guild, the members of the guild who were also punished by the guild. So somebody violated the rules of the guild or the Shreni Dharma, then the guild had the power to impose fines on the members of the guild. The topmost authority was the king. If they are not able to solve any problem amongst themselves, then they will approach the king, and the king was the king was the final arbitrator. He will decide, the case ultimately because he is the highest court of appeal. But generally, and all these guilds also have to register themselves with the government. So this is how guilds operated even in the Mauryan period. Okay, so this is how it is. Clear? Now, art and architecture. I will deal with the Mauryan art and architecture as part of art and culture. So I will not be talking about Mauryan art and architecture as part of conventional history. I will do it in a detailed manner when I do art and culture. Okay, I got you, Ankush. I got you. Now let us come to decline of the Mauryas. Decline of the Mauryas. Various theories as regards its decline. Any doubts till now? Hello, all of you. Any doubts till now? Can I move on? Clear? Great. Okay. Thank you. Thank you. We'll move on here. Now there are various theories as regards the decline of the Mauryas. H.P. Shastri. Look here. H.P. Shastri gave us the reason that the main reason for the decline of the Mauryas was the revolt of Brahmins. He says that Brahmanas were very, very angry with the Mauryas. Why were they angry with the Mauryas? Because the first three Mauryas did not patronize the Vedic religion or the Brahminical religion. Chandragupta Maurya patronized Jainism, Bindusara patronized the Ajivika sect, and Ashoka patronized Buddhism. So, the Vedic religion or the Brahminical religion was not patronized by the great Mauryas, and the Brahmanas are very, very angry with that. And they were waiting for an opportunity to put an end to the Mauryas. Now, H.P. Shastri says that who was the last Mauryan king? Brihadratha. Understand this? Brihadratha was the last Mauryan king. Brihadratha, and he was killed by his own commander by name Pushyamitra Sunga. Understand this? Pushyamitra Sunga. You all know this. We have discussed it some time back. And please understand, Pushyamitra Sunga happened to be a Brahmin. He was a Brahmin, Pushyamitra Sunga. And H.P. Shastri says that this was a Brahminical counter-revolution. Brahmanas and Pushyamitra Sunga joined together and killed Brihadratha and ended the Mauryan rule because Mauryas were not patronizing the Vedic religion or the Brahminical religion. This opinion of H.P. Shastri has been rejected by historians. Why they have rejected this opinion of H.P. Shastri? These historians say, that modern historians say that there's nothing called Brahminical counter-revolution. It was only incidental, by chance, that Pushyamitra Sunga happened to be a Brahmana. He was a very ambitious general, Pushyamitra Sunga. And Brihadratha, the Mauryan king, was a weakling. He was a weak ruler. So, a very ambitious general took advantage of the weak king, killed the weak king, and seized the throne. And incidentally, he happened to be a Brahmana. He could have been any other, he could have been belonging to any other Varna. He might be a Kshatriya, he could have been a Vaishya, etc. So there is nothing called Brahminical counter-revolution. It was just the case of a very ambitious general taking advantage of a weak ruler, killing him and seizing the throne. So the opinion of H.P. Shastri has been rejected. Clear? Did you understand? Revolt of Brahmins. That is not accepted by historians. That is wrong. Then we have another theory. H.C. Rai Chaudhary. H.C. Rai Chaudhary. He says that the pacifist policies of Ashoka were responsible for its decline. The pacifist policies of Ashoka, the peaceful policies followed by Ashoka, particularly after the Kalinga War. So after the Kalinga War, the Mauryan army was not utilized for 29 years in wars. For 29 years, there was no war at all after the Kalinga War. So therefore, H.C. Rai Chaudhary was of the opinion that the Mauryan army lost its fighting capacity. But then again, this particular opinion of H.C. Rai Chaudhary has been rejected. Why? Because, of course, there were no wars after the Kalinga War, and for 29 years there were no wars. But we cannot say that the Mauryan army lost its fighting capacity. The Mauryan army was in fact utilized to maintain law and order over the extensive Mauryan Empire and also to guard the frontier areas. So therefore, the Mauryan army was kept fighting fit. It was not that they lost their fighting capacity, and therefore this theory has been rejected. Third theory was given by D.D. Kosambi. He says economic crisis led to the decline of the Mauryas. Economic crisis led to the decline of the Mauryas. Again, this theory has been rejected, as given by D.D. Kosambi. What does D.D. Kosambi say? He says that the percentage of gold coins, the percentage of gold in the Mauryan coins, in the later Mauryan coins, is very less. The percentage of gold in the later Mauryan coins is very, very less. And that shows that the economy of the Mauryas was under a strain. It was severely strained. This theory again has been rejected because, of course, the percentage of gold content in the later Mauryan coins are less, but doesn't mean that the economy was under a strain, because even in the later Mauryan period, we see the establishment of a number of cities, number of towns and cities were established. You have extension and intensification of agriculture happening, and many new towns and cities were established. Therefore, this theory of D.D. Kosambi was also rejected. The most acceptable theory was given by Romila Thapar, Professor Romila Thapar of the Jawaharlal Nehru University, and she said that it was administrative defects which were responsible for the decline of the Mauryas. Administrative defects. Romila Thapar says that, you see, the Mauryan emperor was the supreme authority. All the powers were in his hands. Legislative, executive, judiciary. He was the supreme authority in the Mauryan Empire, and all the powers were concentrated in his hands. So here, the first three Mauryas are very, very capable men. Chandragupta Maurya, his son Bindusar, and then Ashoka. But unfortunately, after Ashoka, we have weak rulers. They were not capable men. And that is pretty much the story of almost all the dynasties. Be it the Mughals, be it the Marathas, be it the Guptas, or be it anybody else. Once the very capable kings were succeeded by weaklings, it had a very adverse effect on the administration, and the whole administrative superstructure collapsed like a pack of cards. So, after the death of Ashoka, the Mauryan Empire could last only for 47 years. We have seen that so many rulers came, but they were not able to hold the empire together. Samprati temporarily united both the parts, both the western and the eastern parts. But after Samprati, we have weak rulers. And Pushyamitra Sunga took advantage of the weak king Brihadrata, who was also unpopular, and he killed him and he ended the Mauryan rule. So, this is the decline of the Mauryas. Clear, all of you? This is about the Mauryan chapter. Can I move on? I have added a small note on fourth theory is D.D. Kosambi. Kennedy, fourth theory is D.D. Kosambi says that economic crisis led to the decline of the Mauryas. And how does he say that there was an economic crisis? By analyzing the Mauryan coins, which have less gold content. Later Mauryan coins have very less gold content in them. And that shows that the economy was under a strain, under severe strain. And he says economic crisis led to the decline of the Mauryan Empire, but that was rejected, as I told you, because even though percentage of gold in the later Mauryan coins are less, in the later period also, in the later Mauryan period also, we have a number of cities and towns which were established. And that doesn't show the fact that economy was under strain, because when new cities and towns were being established, even in the later Vedic period, it shows that economy was pretty healthy and it was not under any strain as such. Fourth, okay. Romila Tapar part, Ankush, I've already told you. Kennedy, fourth part is, see, all the powers were in the hands of the emperor. After Ashoka, we have weak rulers, and they were not very capable men, and that's why they were not able to hold the Mauryan Empire together. Mauryas ruled from parts of Afghanistan to the river Kaveri, and you require a very capable man to run a huge empire like that, to give a sound administration, to take care of the welfare of its people, and be an efficient ruler. Unfortunately, that was not to be the case after the death of Ashoka. Clear, Ankush? Now, the most acceptable theory is Romila Thapar's. Romila Thapar's theory is the most acceptable theory. The rest of the theories have been rejected by historians. Okay, right. Then I have given you a small note on Arthashastra, as you can see on your screen. Arthashastra, written by Kautilya. It is partly in prose and poetry. It is in the Sanskrit language. It has totally 6,000 verses. So it is divided into 15 parts, adhikaranas, 15 parts, and 180 prakaranas, subparts. And these 15 parts deal with various topics. You can see here on your screen. The first part, the first book deals with kingship. So various training, safety, security of the king. I believe Chandragupta Maurya was not allowed to sleep in one bedroom. He used to change his bedrooms, just to avoid a possibility of a coup or a murder, etc. So training, safety, security of the king, duties of the king. So what all the king was supposed to do. A certain time was fixed for the king. You're supposed to get up at a particular time, do that ritual, and then he'll have his relaxation time. He should be available to meet the spies at every hour, even when he's sleeping, even when he's taking a bath, even when he is with the women in the harem or with his queens. So he should be available to meet the spies anytime. So all these details are given by Kautilya in his Arthashastra. Appointment of council of ministers. He advises the use of money, women, etc. to test the ministers. So somebody is going to be the finance minister. You test him because he'll be handling money, and he might get greedy and he might hoard money. He might cheat the government. So they therefore test him with money. Somebody might be the head of the harem, officer for that is Antarvesika. He is the head of the harem, but he is, let us say, he's a womanizer himself. So the women of the harem will not be safe under such an officer. So test him with women. So all these things, Kautilya tells us in his Arthashastra. Then Adhyaksha Prakara, secretaries of various departments, Dharmastaya, the civil court, then Kantaka Shodhana, criminal justice, various salaries and scales of officers. Highest pay was 48,000 panas, lowest pay was 60 panas. And he mentions about silver coins like Karshapana, Padam, copper coin called Mashaka, etc. Then foreign policy. So a king alone cannot run the government or the state. He is to be assisted by 7 limbs. That is called Saptanga theory of state. So he says, what are the 7 limbs of a state? Swami, king; Amatya, mantri; Bala and Danda, army and police; Durga, that is fort; Kosha, treasury; Janapada, territory; Mitra, ally. So for running a state successfully, all these 7 are required according to Kautilya. That is called Saptanga theory of state. And foreign policy in different situations. Book 8 talks about crisis management or disaster management, disaster like fire accident or a famine, etc. Then wars and different types of troops to be mobilized. So hereditary troopers, Britakas, mercenary soldiers. Who is a mercenary soldier? Who will fight for money. So let us say I give him 1 lakh, he'll fight for me. Somebody gives him 2 lakhs, the same fellow will fight against me because somebody else has given him more money. He's called a mercenary soldier. So he talks about mercenary soldiers, Atavi Bala, for forces supplied by forest tribes, like that. Different types of tribes, wars, and troops he mentions. Then wars and strategies, policies to be adopted in oligarchies. Oligarchy is what? Where you have a group of people holding power. So you have a core group of people. Say, for example, in a tribe, there's a tribal chief and about 4, 5 of his relatives or friends. They hold the power. That's called an oligarchy. Then strategies to be adopted by a weak king in dealing with a powerful king. And here he talks about end justifying means. End is important. Means doesn't matter. And for that reason, Kautilya is called Indian Machiavelli. So what means you adopt to win doesn't matter. As far as the king's safety and the safety of his subjects and the kingdom is intact, then doesn't matter. What means the king adopts. So that's what Kautilya says. Dealing with conquered territories, book number 13. Then Opani Sadaka, that is talks of occult practices like sorcery, witchcraft, black magic, all those things to snatch power or to continue to be in power. You should do all these things. So all these things are mentioned by Kautilya. Even now, many of our politicians before elections, they do a lot of home, havan, etc. To get invoke the gods or get the blessings of the gods, and also to feel secure. So all those things are done even now. But of course, here he talks about occult practices, witchcraft, black magic, etc. Then various aspects of administration, sources of income for the king, 7 sources of income, then 7 items of expenditure of the king. All these are mentioned by Kautilya in his Arthashastra. So because he gives so much of details as regards the Mauryan administration from the top to the local level, historians believe that only a prime minister could know so many details. And therefore, it is presumed that Kautilya or Chanakya must have been the prime minister of Chandragupta Maurya, right? So this is from various sources, Kennedy. I know, this is from various sources. You use this as a supplement. Apart from use this, you make one of the books, maybe R.S. Sharma, the main book, or you can also refer to Poonam Dalal Tahiya. One of those books you make as the base book, and then you supplement that with the PPTs of the class. That should be more than sufficient. And keep track of current affairs. Be very careful about current affairs. So that should be your complete preparation. Panas are a mode of coins. Panams. Pana is coins. Mostly silver coins. Karshapana and Panam. Okay, right. All of you, are you there with me? Is it boring? No, but that's how it is. It's a factual topic. Vast, but it's vast. But I hope it was not boring. So this is about Mauryan Empire. Let us look at the questions at the end of this chapter. Let us look at the questions. We come back here. Look at the questions and try to answer them without looking at the answers. Right? 1995. The name by which Ashoka is generally referred to in his inscriptions. The name by which Ashoka is generally referred to in his inscription. Chakravarti, no. Dharmadeva, Dharmakirti, Piyadasi. Answer is Piyadasi. Piyadasi is what? The official name of Ashoka. Piyadasi was his official name, isn't it? What was his real name? What was his real name? Ashoka. Very good. Dashwant. Her real name was Ashoka. Official name was Piyadasi. Then 1997 question. Which one of the following scripts of ancient India was written from right to left? Okay, left to right, we have seen Brahmi and Greek scripts are written from left to right. And Ulta, right to left, is Kharoshti and Aramaic. So Brahmi, not Brahmi. Nandanagari, no. Sharda, no. Kharoshti. Kharoshti is written from right to left. So underline the keywords. They're asking right to left. Right? Kharoshti is written from right to left in the given choices. So then for our convenience, I have mentioned Brahmi. Brahmi, you all know, written from left to right. Left to right is Brahmi. Ashokan Brahmi. Nandanagari. So Nandinagari was a script used even by the Vijayanagar kings, and it was prevalent in Deccan and South India between the 11th and the 19th century. Then Sharda script was used in Kashmir. Sharda script was used in Kashmir as such. Okay. Bhimare is saying we also call Ashoka as Ashoka Chakravarti. So all kings used to be called Chakravarti. Chakravarti means emperor. So whoever was an emperor was called Chakravarti. But they're asking here in his inscriptions what is called Bhimre. I think so, Gunjan. If you don't have the time to read NCRT, then you read R.S. Sharma, because old NCRT is written by R.S. Sharma. You as well read the textbook. You read the R.S. Sharma textbook, Ancient India by R.S. Sharma. By default, you would have read the NCRT books. Okay. So don't worry about it, Gunjan. When you have the time, later you can go through the NCRTs. But if you now don't have the time, then only stick to the textbook. Hemalata, you can, in a pencil, you can underline the keywords. You're not writing anything, right? You're only underlining. Okay. In the mains also, you have to underline. In the mains, when you write, you underline the keywords. It adds to the weightage of the marks. Okay. We'll move on here. Which one of the following edicts mentioned the personal name of Ashoka? 1998. Which one of the following edicts mentioned the personal name of Ashoka? Kalsi, no. Rumindai, no. Special Kalinga edict, no. Musky. So personal name of Ashoka is Ashoka. Musky. In the given choice, it is Musky. Palm leaves. Jaswant, it was written originally on palm leaf manuscript. Then 1998. Which one of the following ancient Indian records is the earliest royal order to preserve food grains to be utilized during the crisis of the country? Sohagaura copper plate, Rumindai pillar edict of Ashoka, Prayaga Prashasti, Mehroli pillar inscription of Chandra. No, this is the answer. Sohagaura copper plate inscription found in the Gorakhpur district of UP. So I've told you, Sohagaura and Mahastan inscriptions both are found in UP. Sohagaura and Mahastan inscriptions. Both these inscriptions talk about famine relief measures undertaken by the government of Chandragupta Maurya. Did you understand? Hello? I don't know about special Kalinga edict, Ankush. Okay, then UP, Roshan, UP, Uttar Pradesh. Sohagaura and Mahastan inscriptions are found in present-day UP. The Ashokan major edicts, which tell us about the Sangam kingdom, including rock edicts. 998 question. You all know that it is 2nd and 13. Second major rock edict and 13th major rock edict. Talk about the Cholas, Pandyas, and Cheras. Cheras are called Kerala Putra. Kerala Putra. Then 2002 question. The ancient Indian play Mudra Rakshasa of Vishakadatta has its subject as what? A conflict between gods and demons of ancient Hindu lore. Yesterday I've given you the story about Mudra Rakshasa. A romantic story of an Aryan prince and a tribal woman. The story of the power struggle between two Aryan tribes. No. The court intrigues at the time of Chandragupta Maurya. This is the answer. The court intrigues or court politics at the time of Chandragupta Maurya. Lakima, are you there with me? So we have done a detailed study of Mauryan Empire, and I'm asking you, are you able to answer the question with whatever we have done in the class? Yeah, so you are able to answer. Good. As far as I know, Ankush, there's nothing called special Kalinga edict. We know Kalinga edict. Okay, but then special Kalinga edict, we don't know. Then 2014, the national motto of India, Satyameva Jayate, inscribed below the emblem of India is taken from what? Katha Upanishad, no. Chandogya Upanishad, no. Aitareya Upanishad, no. It is Mundaka Upanishad. So when I do Vedic period, as part of art and culture, we have a topic called literature. In that, I'll be discussing Vedic literature. So as part of Vedic literature, we have Upanishads, and there are 108 Upanishads. Upanishads are generally in the form of dialogues. Among the important Upanishads, one is Mundaka Upanishad. And our national slogan, Satyameva Jayate, that is, truth alone triumphs, is found here. And later, when the Ashokan emblem was, when the Ashoka Chakra was borrowed as our emblem, national emblem, um, we have made certain changes, and those two wild animals around the abacus were removed. You remember, there are 4 animals around the abacus. What is the abacus? You have the inverted lotus, then we have 4 dharma chakras around the Ashokan pillar, isn't it? And we have 1 elephant, 1 lion, 1 bull, and one horse. 2 wild animals were removed. Elephant and lion were removed, and in place of 2 wild animals, uh, the slogan Satyameva Jayate from the Mundaka Upanishad was introduced. Clear? Right. Then, who of the following had first deciphered the edicts of Emperor Ashoka? So, such a easy question. It was James Prinsep. 1837, James Prinsep deciphered the Ashokan edict, right, for the first time. Which question, Ankush? What are you saying? First name of Ashoka is mentioned in Musky in the given choice. Okay. Then, Ankush, I have already answered that question. You just hold on. I'll come back to you. Then look at the choice here. Next question. In which of the following relief, 2019 question, in which of the following relief sculpture inscriptions is Ranyo Ashoka? That is King Ashoka mentioned along with the stone portrait of Ashoka. So I have put a picture of Ashoka along with his attendants, queens and attendants. You can see here, this picture is not there in the original UPSC question paper. For our convenience, I have put it. So this was what was found in the village of Kanaganahalli in the Kalburgi district of Karnataka, where we have Ashoka who is seen with his queens and attendants. So this was found at a village called Kanaganahalli in the Kalburgi district of Karnataka. So Ashoka surrounded by female attendants and queens. So it is found in Kanaganahalli. Ranya Ashoka. Then 2020 question. Who among the following rulers advised his subjects through this inscription? Look at this question. 2020. Whosoever praises his religious sect or blames other sects out of excessive devotion to his own sect, with the view of glorifying his own sect, he rather injures his own sect very severely. So the answer is Ashoka. Whosoever praises his religious sect or blames other sects out of excessive devotion to his own sect, with the view of glorifying his own sect, he rather injures his own sect very severely. Answer is Ashoka. Which of the following scripts were used in Ashokan inscriptions? So this is a very easy question, not a UPSC question though. So we have three languages and four scripts which Ashoka uses: Brahmi, Kharosthi, Greek, and Aramaic. So answer is Brahmi, Kharosthi, Greek, and Aramaic. These are the four scripts he uses. Then, at which of the following countries of the Indian subcontinent Ashokan edicts are not found? So till now we have not found Ashokan edicts in Sri Lanka and Bangladesh. Though the Mauryan Empire extended up to Bangladesh, we have till now not found any edict in Bangladesh or in Sri Lanka. We have found it in Afghanistan, Pakistan, Nepal, not in Bangladesh and Sri Lanka. Then match the following opinions of historians with regard to the decline of Mauryan Empire. H.P. Shastri, that is revolt of Brahmins. H.C. Rai Chaudhary, pacifist policies of Ashoka. D.D. Kosambi talks about economic crisis. And Romila Thapar, administrative defects. Right? So they're asking about inscriptions, edicts, Bhimare. They're not asking about saplings here. They're asking about edicts. At which of the following countries of Indian subcontinent Ashokan edicts are not found? Then this was a UPSC question asked. The year is missing. Which of the following Ashokan edicts mention South Indian kingdoms? Major Rock Edict number 2, then Major Rock Edict number 13. These two mention about South Indian kingdoms, 2 and 13. Then match the following by using the codes given below. Akara Adyaksha. Akara means mines. Sita, agriculture, crown lands. Kupya. Kupya is forest. And Pautava Adyaksha, weights and measures. So Akara is mines, Sita is crown lands, Kupya is forest, and weights and measures is Pautava Adyaksha. So this is about the end of the Mauryan chapter. We'll take a break now and come back, right? So we'll come back at what time? 7:05. We'll meet at 7:05 and start with post-Maurya period. Post-Maurya period, right? So you take a break and come back. Sharp 7:05 we'll meet. Okay? Carry on. 15 minutes break and we'll come back. Good evening, everyone. Good evening, everybody. Once again, can we start with a new chapter, post-Maurya period? Am I audible and visible once again? Anushka, Hemlata, Ashish, good. So let's talk about this post-Maurya period. Let me give you an overview of this topic and then we will begin. Post-Maurya period. Post-Maurya period. A period of 500 years, 2nd century BC to the 3rd century AD. So let's talk about this topic, very interesting topic. So let me give you the highlights of this topic, of this chapter, the post-Maurya period, what all happened, and then we'll discuss the details. Now, who succeeded the Mauryas in North and Central India? We have the Sungas. Understand this? The Sungas succeeded the Mauryas in the north. Pushyamitra Sunga killed the last Mauryan ruler, Brihadrata, and established the Sunga dynasty. So we'll be studying about the Sungas. Then the Sunga king, the last Sunga king, was killed by his own commander by name Vasudeva Kanva, who established the Kanva dynasty. So we'll be talking about Sungas and Kanvas, who succeeded the Mauryas in North and Central India. And in the south, we have the Shatavahanas. Shatavahanas. So Sungas, Kanvas in the north, and then Shatavahanas in the south. Shatavahanas were the feudatories of the Mauryas, or what is called Samant in Hindi. So they were working under the Mauryas, the Shatavahanas. Once the Mauryan Empire collapsed, the Shatavahanas proclaimed themselves independent and they ruled or brought most parts of South India under their control. Right. So here, the Shatavahanas ruled for about 460 years. Understand this? They ruled for about 460 years under 30 kings, under 30 Shatavahana kings. 225 BC to 225 AD. Almost for 460 years they ruled, the Shatavahanas. And the Shatavahanas sometimes are also called the Andhras. They're also called the Andhras. We'll talk about it. Very interesting. So the indigenous successors of the Mauryas were the Sungas, Kanvas, and the Shatavahanas. Now, during this period, in the post-Maurya period, we have some foreign tribes who came into India. Understand this? Some foreign tribes came into India. Now, what is the reason for that? Now, you see, Alexander had come and gone. You know, we have seen it, isn't it? Alexander came to India in 326 BC. He came to India in 326 BC and he came to the borders of India. There was a rebellion in his army and he was forced to turn back. But then many of the Greek soldiers and officers, understand this, many of the Greek soldiers and officers who had come along with Alexander, they stayed back in the northwest portions of India. So Alexander had come in 326 BC. Many of the Greek soldiers and officers did not go back along with him. They stayed back in what is called North Afghanistan or Bactria. They stayed back in northern Afghanistan or Bactria. And these Greeks came to be called the Bactrian Greeks. So northern Afghanistan is called Bactria. Okay, so these Greeks came to be called Bactrian Greeks. So they were living in northern Afghanistan. Now here, understand this. Imagine this is China. This is China for you. Now, from ancient times, understand this, from ancient times, we have Central Asian tribes. Tribes from Central Asia, they were fierce horse riders. So they were very fierce, at the same time horse riders. So they used to enter into China and engage in loot, plunder, and rapine. So Central Asia is a cold plateau. Many months in a year you cannot engage in agriculture because it's very, very cold. So during the non-agricultural season, many of the Central Asian tribes used to enter into China and engage in loot, plunder, and rapine. And this was a constant headache for the Chinese emperors. So a series of Chinese emperors uh, decided to do something about it. And they began to build a wall. This is the Great Wall of China, what is now called the Great Wall of China. So they began to build a wall, which is now called the Great Wall of China. And when was this wall built? This wall was completed around 220 BC. Around this time, during the post-Maurya period, around 220 BC, this wall was completed by a Chinese emperor called Shi Huangdi. Shi Huangdi. So he was the one who completed this Great Wall of China. Once this wall was built, it became very difficult for the Central Asian tribes to enter into China. And they began to look for other areas where they could engage in loot and plunder. Now, the first foreigners to come into India were the Bactrian Greeks or the Indo-Greeks. So Alexander had come and gone. Many of the Greek soldiers and officers had settled down in northern Afghanistan. They had married the local women of that area and they had settled down there. Now, the first foreigners to enter India were these Greeks. And once they enter India, they are called Indo-Greeks. They are called Indo-Greeks. They were the first to come into India. So we'll be talking about the Indo-Greeks. What are the circumstances which brought them into India? I'll discuss that when I come there. Indo-Greeks. Then the second to come into India were the Shakas or the Scythians. And the coming of these foreigners into India coincided with the construction of the Great Wall of China. Coincided with the completion of the construction of the Great Wall of China. Once the Great Wall of China was built, we have Central Asian tribes who could not enter into China. So they began to come towards India and they began to come into India. So that's why I said the coming of these foreign tribes coincided with the completion of the Great Wall of China. So the second foreigners to come into India were the Shakas, who are also called Scythians. Scythians or the Shakas. And we have 5 branches of the Shakas. 5 branches of the Shakas established kingdoms in various parts of India. One branch ruled present-day Afghanistan, parts of Afghanistan. One branch of the Shakas ruled parts of present-day Pakistan. One branch of the Shakas ruled over parts of present-day UP, Uttar Pradesh. And 2 branches of the Shakas ruled over parts of Madhya Pradesh. Totally, we have 5 branches of the Shakas. We'll discuss about them. So the second to come into India were the Shakas or the Scythians. The third to come into India were the Parthians. Parthians. They were from Iran. Parthia or northern Iran. So they were the third to come to India, the Parthians. The fourth to come into India were the Kushanas. Kushans. They were another tribe from Central Asia. So this is a sequential order in which they came. The Bactrian Greeks or the Indo-Greeks, they were the first to come to India. Then we have the Shakas or Scythians, then the Parthians, and then the Kushanas. Now please understand, they were foreigners. So they brought along with them their distinct culture and way of life. So we are all Indians and we go, let us say, to some other country to settle. For distinct culture and way of life. Okay, maybe our children or grandchildren, if they're born there, let us say you settle down in America or some other part of the world, you still carry with you your culture and way of life. You might want to have your Indian food. You might crave for Indian food because if it's not easily available in those foreign countries, and then when you get it, you feel very, very happy. But then if your children or grandchildren are born there, they will not be attached much to this country because they become part of that country and they're that culture. So these foreigners who came into India brought along with them their distinct culture and way of life. They influenced our history and culture. And we have to study that. Very interesting. For example, Indo-Greeks or Bactrian Greeks. They had come along with Alexander's army. And many of these Greek soldiers and officers married the local women of northern Afghanistan and settled down there. They used to worship Greek and Roman gods like Zeus, Apollo, etc. These are the Roman gods they used to worship. And in ancient Greece and Rome, they used to make huge images, idols of these gods. And these gods, like Apollo, Zeus, they were shown as robust uh, personalities, tall, well built, with a flowing robe, with a mustache, with a beard, etc. So these Bactrian Greeks or Indo Greeks, over a period of time, became Indianized. That is, they married Indian women. They became part of this country. They imbibed many of the cultural aspects of this country. And they began to worship Buddha or Krishna, Lord Buddha or Lord Krishna. And they began to depict Buddha in the idols as a Greco-Roman god. So Buddha was shown as a figure with a robust physique, tall, well-built. Buddha was shown with a mustache and a beard. So in the northwest portions of India, what we now call Kandahar in Afghanistan, a distinct school of art came into existence, which has come to be called as the Gandhara school of art or the Gandhara art. Gandhara is the old name for Kandahar. What we now call Kandahar, those days was called Gandhara. So the Indo-Greeks patronized the Gandhara school of art. They introduced the Gandhara school of art. Similarly, we have in Central India, we understand this, in Central India, we have the Shungas and later the Kushanas who promoted the Mathura school of art. Mathura school of art. And then the Shatavahanas in the south, the Shatavahanas promoted the Amaravati school of art. Amaravati art. So, as part of this chapter, we will be studying Gandhara art, Mathura art, Amaravati school of art. But then I'll be covering these three schools of art in the art and culture section. I'll be not dealing with Gandhara, Mathura, Amaravati schools of art in conventional history topic. In this chapter, I'll not be dealing with that, but I'm just giving you an overview. So when I come to that part of art and culture, art and architecture, when I do art and culture, then you should recollect in your mind and then understand the context in which these three schools of art came into existence. Okay, so we'll be discussing these things. So these foreigners influence our history and culture. So what are the various areas where these foreigners influence our history and culture? We will talk about it. Okay, so Indo-Greeks, the Shakas or Scythians, the Parthians, and the Kushanas. Clear, all of you till here? Then let me make some space. So here we have the Shatavahanas who promoted the Amaravati school of art, right? Amaravati school of art. Now, as part of this chapter, we'll be also studying about the three Tamil kingdoms. Understand this? We'll be discussing the three Tamil kingdoms. That is the Cholas, the Pandyas, and the Cheras. Cholas, Cheras, Pandyas. And how do we know about these three Tamil kingdoms? We come to know about these three Tamil kingdoms from a literature which has come to be called Sangam literature. So we'll be discussing about what is called Sangam period. So what is a Sangam period? What is Sangam literature? What is the meaning of Sangam? And what information does this Sangam literature give about the Deep South? This is called the Deep South, where the Cholas, Cheras, and Pandyas ruled. And also, I'll be discussing about what is called megalithic culture. Megalithic culture. So here when I did Stone Age as part of ancient India, the first chapter was Stone Age. We have discussed Paleolithic period, Old Stone Age, Mesolithic period, Middle Stone Age, Neolithic period, New Stone Age, Chalcolithic period, Stone Copper Age. We have discussed all that. Now, what is megalithic culture? We'll be discussing that. Mega means what? Large. Mega means large. Lithic means stone. So this is called large Stone Age culture. Large Stone Age culture. So what is this megalithic culture or large Stone Age culture? Why is it called megalithic culture, etc.? All those things we'll discuss. So as part of this chapter, we'll be discussing the local dynasties which succeeded the Mauryas, Sungas, Kanvas, and Shatavahanas. Then we'll be discussing the foreign tribes who came to India, like the Bactrian Greeks or the Indo-Greeks, the Shakas or Scythians, the Parthians and the Kushanas. Then we'll be discussing about the three Tamil kingdoms as part of Sangam period and also megalithic culture. And finally, we'll be also discussing about this period, which is known as the Mercantile Age of India. This period, the post-Maurya period, is called the Mercantile Age of India. Mercantile Age of India. This was the period when India had flourishing trade with various parts of the world via the sea as well as overland. So via the Arabian Sea, we had trade with West Africa, West Asia, including the Roman Empire. So via the Arabian Sea, we had trade with West Asia, West Africa, West Asia, including the Roman Empire. Via the Bay of Bengal, we had trade with Myanmar or Burma and also Southeast Asian countries via the Indian Ocean, like Sri Lanka, then Indonesia, Malaya, and then also with China. So we had trade via the Bay of Bengal and Indian Ocean with even China. And then in the Indian Ocean with Sri Lanka, then of course Maldives, Lakshadweep, etc. So this was the period when the mechanism of the monsoon was discovered. As you all know, monsoon is a seasonal wind. It blows towards India in a particular season and brings huge amount of rainfall to this country. Unfortunately, many parts of India are under drought condition because we have not had proper rains this time, no last time, and we are having heat waves in many parts of the country. We are waiting for the monsoon. And once that happens, and it's supposed to be normal this year according to the Met Department, then a lot of problems will be solved within our country. So this mechanism of the monsoon was first noticed by a Egyptian Greek sailor called Hippalus. His name was Hippalus. In 46 AD, he noticed that winds blow towards India in a particular season and bring huge amount of rainfall to this country. So once he noticed that this happens every year without fail, in the monsoon season, a number of foreigners came to India in their ships. Why did they come? They came to pick up spices, cotton textiles and spices, mainly spices. And as a result, we have India having a favorable balance of trade. That is more of exports. India was exporting more than importing. And India had trade with all these countries, with West Africa, West Asia, Roman Empire, Southeast Asian countries, Indonesia, Malaya, and also Sri Lanka, etc. So we'll be talking, this period is called the Mercantile Age of India. And this is pretty much the highlight of this period. Whatever I have just now discussed, this is pretty much the highlight of this period. And also we have some religious developments during this period. For example, we have Buddhism, which got divided into Hinayana and Mahayana, the final schism in the Buddhist Sangha. Finally, Buddhism got divided into Hinayana, Mahayana during this period. Similarly, we have the revival of the Vedic religion or Brahminical religion. The Sungas, Kanvas, Shatavahanas promoted Vedic rituals and sacrifices. You know, the Mauryas were supporters of heterodox sects. They supported Jainism, Buddhism, Ajivika sect, etc. But after the Mauryan Empire declined, again we have the revival of Brahmanism under the Sungas, Kanvas, and the Shatavahanas. They promoted the Vedic religion. So again, rituals and sacrifices became popular. And also we have the concept of bhakti coming into existence. Concept of bhakti, the worship of Vasudeva Krishna, which is called Bhagavatism. So Bhagavatism or worship of Krishna becomes popular during this period. These are the highlights of this period. Did you understand? Lakhima, Buddhism, Jainism, etc. will be covered as part of art and culture. Okay. Generally, I start art and culture segment with Buddhism and Jainism. Did you understand? These are the highlights of this period. Once you understand the big picture, then we'll come to the small details. In a detailed manner, we will discuss. Clear, all of you? Understood? Okay. I'm going in a sequential order. After post Maurya period, next chapter is Gupta period. Why are you interested in Gupta without understanding post Maurya? Megha, huh? Wait for post-Maurya to end, then I'll come to Gupta. Okay. Mega. Did you understand the gist of this topic? Now let's come to the details. Post-Maurya period, 200 BC to 300 AD. See, chronology and geography are the two eyes of history. Chronology and geography are the two eyes of history. So I'm going in a chronological sequence, right? So that you understand the topic. I can't jump topics. So if I go like this, then you'll understand and you'll get the connection. Okay, now let us come back here. So whatever I've told you, the gist is here. 200 BC to 300 AD. This is the age between two greatest empires of India, between the Mauryas and the Guptas. So we have done Mauryas, then Guptas come after this. So between the Mauryas and the Guptas, that period is called post-Maurya period. And classical historians, that is the historians of yesteryears, call this as the Dark Age. Understand this? They call it as the Dark Age. Why they call it as the Dark Age? Because we have political fragmentation of India. Understand this? Mauryas had introduced political homogeneity. From parts of Afghanistan to the river Kaveri, they had established one political rule over almost the whole of India. But once the Mauryan Empire declined, we have political fragmentation of the country. You have political disunity. Small kingdoms came into existence in various parts of the country, and many of these kingdoms were ruled by foreigners, and therefore it is called as the Dark Age by historians of yesteryears, classical historians. But modern historians consider this period as the mercantile age of India. The mercantile age of India. India had flourishing trade with various parts of the world, and India was exporting more. So when you export more, what will happen? More money will come into the country, more treasure, more money will come into the country. So India had a favorable balance of trade, exporting more than importing. If you import more, what will happen? You lose money, as you all know. But if you export more, more money comes into the country. And that's what India was doing at this in this period of time. And we have remarkable developments in literature, art, architecture, trade during this period. Right. So let us first of all discuss the foreign dynasties. We'll discuss the foreign dynasties which came into India, foreign tribes who came into India and established kingdoms. I told you the Indo-Greeks came, or the Bactrian Greeks. They had come along with Alexander's army. These Greeks, they said they had settled down in northern Afghanistan, and later they entered India, and they came to be called as Indo-Greeks. Then we have the Shakas, the Parthians, and the Kushanas. So let us discuss the foreign tribes first of all, who established various kingdoms. Then once I finish the foreign tribes, I'll come to the local dynasties which succeeded the Mauryas, like the Sungas, Kanvas, Shatavahanas, and Meghavarman dynasty. Okay. So you can see here on your screen, this is the picture of the Great Wall of China. This is the construction of the wall, the Great Wall of China. You see here, it was completed by Shi Huangdi around 220 BC. Shi Huangdi. What was the reason why this wall was built? To prevent the inroads of Central Asian tribes into China. And once this wall was built, it became almost difficult, very impossible, very difficult for the Central Asian. Not impossible. It was impossible. In fact, they had to just ride around the Great Wall. But then it was a very massive wall. It was a very lengthy wall, more than half the circumference of the Earth. More than half the circumference of the Earth. You can see here on your screen. This is the Great Wall of China. Another picture I have put it. Look at the size of the wall. 16 feet in width. It was 16 feet in width. 16 feet in width. About 22 to 25 feet in height. You have watchtowers at intervals. You can see here, you have watchtowers. So an army was deployed here. A Chinese army was deployed here. So the Great Wall of China, what's the length? 21,196.18 kilometers. 21,196.18 kilometers. Circumference of the Earth is 40,075 kilometers. So the total length of the Great Wall is little bit more than half of the circumference of the Earth. a little bit more than half of the circumference of the Earth. Massive, gigantic wall, a marvel of human engineering, a marvel of human engineering. And the second greatest wall is in, the second greatest wall, the second longest wall is in, hello? Second longest wall is in, anybody? Lagima, India, very good. The Kumbhalgarh Fort, not Ranthambore Puja, Kumbhalgarh, built by Rana Kumbha. It is 32 kilometers in length. 32 kilometers in length. The second longest wall in the world is in India, the Kumbhalgarh Fort. And then we'll come back here. So this is the Great Wall of China. The purpose why it was built, I've told you, to prevent the inroads of Central Asian tribes into India. And once this wall was built, it became very difficult for them to enter into China. And the construction of the Great Wall of China coincided with the coming of the foreign tribes into India. So here, this is a sequential order in which they came. Indo-Greeks. See, Indo-Greeks were the first to come. We'll discuss about them. Then Scythians or the Shakas. Then the Parthians came, and the Kushanas. That is the sequential order in which they came. So let us first of all discuss about the Indo-Greeks or the Bactrian Greeks. So the Greeks, basically, they had come along with Alexander's army. They settled down in northern Afghanistan or Bactria. And then later they came into India. They belong to the Ionian tribe of the Greeks, and therefore they're called Yavanas. They're called Yavanas because they belong to the Ionian tribe of the Greeks. Now look here. I'll use another page. Understand this. We have seen who Seleucus Nicator. Seleucus Nicator. Who was Seleucus Nicator? One of the generals of Alexander. And we have seen this. Chandragupta Maurya fought with Seleucus Nicator, and he gave 500 elephants to Seleucus Nicator. And Seleucus Nicator established, Seleucus Nicator gave up the Trans-Indus region. That is the area across the Indus. So this Seleucus Nicator, once, he had a truce with Chandragupta Maurya, he established a huge empire. That is called Seleucid Empire. So Seleucus Nicator established the Seleucid Empire. Seleucid Empire. So imagine this is the Seleucid Empire. This is the empire of Seleucus Nicator, established by Seleucus Nicator, called the Seleucid Empire. And inside the Seleucid Empire, there was an area called Bactria. There was an area called Bactria. So once Seleucus Nicator died, the Seleucid Empire became weak. Understand this? Seleucus Nicator established a huge empire. Bactria was a part of this Seleucid Empire. Once Seleucus Nicator died, Bactria broke away from the Seleucid Empire. And we have a person called Demetrius. We have a person called Demetrius. He became the king of Bactria. And Demetrius, when he was the king of Bactria, attacked a few parts of northwest India and he conquered them. Therefore, Demetrius, who was the king of Bactria, is called the second Greek hero. He is considered to be the second Greek hero or second Greek king after Alexander to conquer a few parts of northwest India. Okay, so he conquered a few parts of northwest India and is considered to be the second Greek hero after Alexander to conquer a few parts of northwest India. Now, this Demetrius appointed one of his generals called Menander as his representative in India. So he appointed his general called Menander as his representative over those conquered territories. So he conquered a few parts of India, this Demetrius, and he left those areas under the charge of his commander, Menander. So Menander was taking care of those areas in northwest portions of India. Unfortunately, Demetrius was assassinated at Bactria. After some time, Demetrius was killed. When Demetrius was killed, this Menander proclaimed himself independent. He proclaimed himself independent and established an independent kingdom in the northwest portions of India, which Sakala or Sialkot has its capital. So Sakala or Sialkot, which is now in Pakistan. So Sialkot or Sakala becomes his capital. And he established an independent kingdom in the northwest portions of India. Do you understand? I repeat again. So I'll come back to the. I'll come to that, Bhimaray. Just focus on the class. So here I have not read that part of the news, so therefore I'll not be able to answer that. But probably tomorrow I'll look into it and I'll come back with my answer. Okay, Bhimaray, we'll come back here. So here again I repeat, Seleucid Empire was established by Seleucus Nicator, and Bactria was a part of the Seleucid Empire. Once Seleucus Nicator died, Bactria seceded or broke away from the Seleucid Empire. Demetrius became the king of Bactria, and he conquered a few parts of northwest India. And he left those conquered areas in charge of his commander or military general called Menander. After some time, Demetrius was assassinated. Thereupon, Menander proclaimed himself independent and established an independent kingdom in the northwest portions of India, with Sakala or Sialkot as his capital. And Menander is considered to be the greatest of the Indo-Greek kings. Menander is considered to be the greatest of the Indo-Greek kings or Bactrian kings, Indo-Greek kings. He is considered to be the greatest, Menander. He is also called Milinda. He is also called Milinda. Clear? Now, there was a monk in his court. In the court of Menander or Milinda, there was a Buddhist monk. His name was Nagasena. His name was Nagasena. Now, this Menander saw hundreds and thousands of Buddhist monks. No, Buddhist monks shaved their head. They were wearing yellow robes, and they were, roaming around. And Menander saw thousands of them, and he was intrigued. He was fascinated by these people. Who are these people? Why have they shaven their head? Why are they wearing yellow color clothes on their body? So he began to ask all these questions to Nagasena. You understand? King Menander or Milinda began to ask all these questions to his minister, one of his ministers in his court, monk Nagasena. And Nagasena answered all the queries, all the questions. In other words, through Nagasena, King Menander came to know about Lord Buddha and Buddhism. He was so much influenced by whatever he heard from Nagasena that Milinda or Menander converted himself to Buddhism. He converted himself to Buddhist Dharma, Buddhist religion. This dialogue, this question and answer session between King Menander and Nagasena, Buddhist monk Nagasena, is contained in a book called Milinda Panha. It is contained in a book called Milinda Panha. Literally in English, it means questions of Milinda. Questions of Milinda. So Menander converted himself to Buddhism. And this Milinda Panha is written by whom? It is written by Nagasena. It was written by Nagasena. It's in the Pali language. It is in the Pali language, Milinda Panha, written by Buddhist monk Nagasena. Are you there with me? Nagasena. Right. Now, this is also called Nagasena Bhikshu Sutra. This book, Milinda Panha, is also called Nagasena Bhikshu Sutra. Nagasena Bhikshu Sutra. This is considered to be the most important book after the three Pitakas. So we have Buddhist, the messages of Buddha are contained in the three Pitakas. So one of the important books in Buddhism is the three Pitakas: Sutta Pitaka, Vinaya Pitaka, Abhidhamma Pitaka. When I do Buddhism, I'll talk about it. It's called three Pitakas. Apart from after the three Pitakas, another important book which is there is this Nagasena Bhikshu Sutra or Milinda Panha. Are you there with me? So King Milinda ruled from Sialkot or Sakala in present-day Pakistan. Now the Greeks introduced, understand this, I'll use another page. They introduced gold coins. They were the first to introduce gold coins in India. The Greeks, the Indo-Greeks or the Bactrian Greeks, were the first to introduce gold coins. first to introduce gold coins in India, right? The Indo-Greeks. And on their coins, we have the figure of their king embossed along with his name. So the Greek king's face is embossed or stamped on the coin along with his name. So we can reconstruct, understand this, we can reconstruct the history of the Greeks from their coin legends. We can reconstruct the history of the Greeks from their coin legends. From their coin legends. So they were the first to introduce gold coins in India. We can reconstruct the history of the Greeks from their coin legends, and they replaced the punch mark coins. Understand this? In the pre-Maurya yesterday's chapter, if you go back, we have punch marked silver and copper coins, isn't it? So they replaced the punch marked coins. They replaced the punch marked coins with double die struck coins. With double die struck coins. Double die struck coins. Now, the Greeks, hello, are you there with me, all of you? Can you raise your hands? I'll discuss the PPT. Don't worry about it. Once I tell you the story, then we'll go back and discuss the PPT. It becomes a lot, sort of a revision for you. Yeah, no? Okay, good. Thank you. Now, the Greeks, understand this, the Greeks introduced military governorships called strategos. They introduced military governorships. Introduced military governorships called strategos. Strategos. Understand this. Strategos. Now let me explain this. Let's say this is the kingdom of Milinda. This is the kingdom of Milinda. This is the capital. In the center, he has his capital. Okay, this is his own. This is his capital. Now he has given away some territories. So let us say this is his core area. He is ruling over this area. In red, I'll mark. Okay, so this is the core area of King Milinda. Okay, now he has given away some territories to his officers, military officers, like this. Let's say this is A, this is B, this is C, D, E, etc. So these are all military officers, A, B, C, D, E, F, etc. Now, this area which has been given to A is his. So he is the military governor of this area, this person called A. Right? Now, what is his duty? The military governor by name A has to maintain law and order in that area. So to maintain law and order in that area, he can keep an army. Without keeping an army, he cannot maintain law and order. So this military governor called A will be allowed to keep an army to maintain law and order in that area. Then he will collect land revenue from the farmers living in that territory called A. So wherever that fellow is appointed as military governor, he will collect the land revenue from the farmers. Then he will also act as a judge in that area, the supreme judge in that area. Now, after defraying the expenses of his own job and that of his officers, so out of the total gross land revenue collected, he will subtract whatever is his salary, whatever money has been already decided between him and the king. So he will subtract that, and also what is the amount of money required to run the administration of that area called A. So he will subtract all that, and then the balance amount he will send it to the king. Similarly, did you understand? And when the king went to war, this military governor called A will assist the king with his army in the king's wars. So these are called military governorships. Can you raise your hands? So, Hari, Panchmark coins, yesterday's class, pre-Maurya period, we have seen that. Double die struck coins are, they have been punched twice, two times. Double die struck means double, second, two times they have been embossed on top of each other. So the impression on the coin is very, very clear because they have been struck twice. You understand? That's called double die struck coins. दो बार उसको एम्बॉस किया गया है उसके ऊपर. Yeah, I'm coming there, Hemalata. Just hold on. So here the Greek king would allot certain territories to his military officers, military governors called strategos. So A, B, C, D, etc. So this area which I mentioned here is the area of military governor A. He will be the supreme authority in that area. He will maintain law and order, he will collect land revenue and also act as a judge. And out of the total land revenue collected, he will subtract whatever is his salary and also what is the amount of money required to run the administration of that area. Once he subtracts that, the rest of the amount he sends it to the capital, to the king. And when the king went to war, he will also assist the king in his wars. Such a system later came to be called variously as Ikta system. Understand this? Delhi Sultans called it as Ikta. The Ikta system was introduced by Iltutmish. So Delhi Sultan, under the Delhi Sultans, it was called Ikta. Such a land assignment was called Ikta, and the holder of an Ikta was called Iktadar. Under the Mughals, military officers were given land grants called Jagirs. The military officers were called Mansabdars, and that area which was given away to the Mansabdar as his salary was called Jagir. So he was also a Jagirdar. Under the Marathas, those such areas were called Mokasa. And under the Vijayanagar kings, you have Nayakas. Nayakas who were given lands called Amarams. Therefore, they came to be called also as Amara Nayakas. Amara Nayakas. Did you understand? So here, military governorship was introduced by the Greeks, the Bactrian Greeks or the Indo-Greeks. And later, many dynasties came to have such a system. Like the Delhi Sultan military governor was called Iqtadar. So he pretty much performed the same duty as a military governor, maintaining control over maintaining law and order over the Iqta, collecting land revenue, acting as a judge, etc. Clear? No, did you understand? This is called strategos. So it was introduced by the Greeks. And then the Greeks also introduced Indian theatre. Nayakas, Ankush, and under Vijayanagara kings, you have military governors called Nayakas, also called Palegars. And they were given lands called Amarams. And so such lands came to, such Nayakas came to be called Amara Nayakas. Amara Nayakas. Clear? Ankush, yeah? Amarams. Okay, Amarams. Okay. Then the Greeks influenced Indian theatre. They influenced Indian theatre. How? We have the practice of using curtain, and curtain is called Yavanika. So curtain is called Yavanika. So here they influence Indian theatre this way. For example, if you go to a drama, let us say you go to a drama to watch a drama or a movie, you have a single screen theatre. Now, even nowadays, in some places we have single screen theatres. So let us say you are waiting for the movie to start. Then what will happen? There's a screen which has been put before you, isn't it? Covering the stage. So the screen will slowly go up before the movie starts or the advertisement start. The screen will slowly go up or it will open up sideways. So this was a Greek practice. Greeks used to use curtains in their theaters, and we have borrowed the practice of using curtains in our theaters from the Greeks. And curtain is called Yavanika. So this way they influence Indian theater. Vijayanagara name is Nayaka and Ankush. They are called, the land which was given to them were called Amarams. Therefore, they are also called Amaranayakas. Amaranayakas. Did you understand, Ankush? This is about Greeks. Whatever I have just now told you, it is there in the PPT. Go through it. Now we'll come back and discuss here. You see here, in the 3rd century BC, Seleucid Empire weakened. Seleucid Empire weakened and Bactria broke away, seceded from it. Demetrius became the ruler of Bactria, and he conquered a few parts of northwest India. He is considered to be the second Greek hero after Alexander to conquer a few territories in northwest portions of India. And Demetrius appointed his military general Menander as his representative. When Demetrius was assassinated, Menander declared himself independent and established an independent Indo-Greek kingdom with Sakala or modern Sialkot in Pakistan as his capital. Right? So this is the Indo-Greek kingdom. On your screen, you can see this is the Indo-Greek kingdom. Now, Menander was the greatest of the Indo-Greek kings. He's also called Milinda. And his capital was Sakala or modern Sialkot. He embraced Buddhism and he was converted to Buddhism by Nagasena. And I told you this dialogue between King Nagasena and Milinda is contained in a book called Milinda Panha or Nagasena Bhikshu Sutra. It is written in Pali language. Then Greeks introduced military governorships or strategos. They introduced military governorships called strategos. Then they influenced Indian numismatics, that is coins. They were the first to introduce gold coins in India. And they replaced the earlier punchmark coins with double die struck coins. So they introduced gold coins in India, right? With Prakrit language and Kharosthi script. You can see here on your screen, these are the pictures of gold coins introduced by Menander. Gold coins minted by Menander contain his image and with his titles Deva Bharata and Sudeva Bharata on one side and Buddhist Dharma Chakra on the other side. Greeks influenced Indian theatre, Yavanika or curtain. So curtain, the practice of using curtains in our theatre is borrowed from the Greeks. Where is Seleucid in present day? I have no idea. Parts of Central Asia, Kennedy, parts of Northwest India and Central Asia. Seleucid Empire. Okay. Now the second foreigners to come into India were the Scythians, also called Shakas. Scythians are also called Shakas. Now, why are they called Shakas? We have a ancient Indian grammarian. His name was Patanjali. Patanjali writes a book called Mahabhashya. Patanjali writes a book called Mahabhashya, and in that book called Mahabhashya, it's a grammar book written in Sanskrit language. It's a grammar book written in Sanskrit language. And in this book called Mahabhashya, Patanjali called the Scythians as Shakas. He calls them as Shakas. So Patanjali was the one who called them as Shakas. And we have 5 branches of the Shakas. We have 5 branches of the Shakas who ruled over different parts of India. One branch ruled over present-day parts of Afghanistan. Another branch ruled over Pakistan, parts of Pakistan. Another branch of the Shakas ruled over present-day UP. And then 2 branches ruled over Madhya Pradesh. And for us, those 2 branches of the Shakas who ruled over parts of Madhya Pradesh is more important from the exam point of view. So anyway, we will discuss everything. We'll come back here. So they established 5 independent kingdoms, the Shakas. This is the Indo-Scythian kingdom or Shaka kingdom. So here, look here on your screen. One branch ruled parts of Afghanistan with Kapisa as capital. So this is the Kapisa kingdom with Kapisa in Afghanistan as capital. This is one branch of the Shakas. Another branch of the Shakas ruled from Takshashila as capital in present-day Pakistan. And we have the first king of the Shakas by name Moga, who took the title of Maharaja Mahatma. So he's considered to be the first king. He's also called Mayus. He's supposed to be the first Shaka king. King Mayus or Moga, also called Moga, King Moga. Right? Then we have another branch of the Shakas who ruled from present-day Mathura in UP. So this is the branch of the Shakas ruling from Mathura. Now these three are not very important. From the exam point of view, not important. The one which ruled over Afghanistan, Pakistan and Mathura in UP. Now what is important is the other two branch of the Shakas. One is called the Kardamaka branch of the Shakas and the other is the Kshaharata branch of the Shakas. They are very important from the exam point of view. Here you can see on your screen Kardamaka branch of the Shakas. Kardamaka branch of the Shakas. Right? And the greatest of the Kardamaka branch of the Shakas was Rudradaman. Remember Rudradaman? He issued the Junagadh rock inscription, which talks about the history of the Sudarshana lake. So Rudradaman is considered to be the greatest of the Kardamaka branch of the Shakas. They ruled over present-day Malwa and Gujarat regions, parts of Malwa and Gujarat regions. So he issued an inscription which has been found at Junagadh or Girnar in Gujarat. It is the earliest Sanskrit inscription. All other inscriptions which came before Junagadh rock inscription are in Prakrit language. The Junagadh rock inscription issued by Rudradaman is the earliest inscription in Sanskrit language. And it gives us the history of the Sudarshana lake. Who built the Sudarshana lake? Vaishya Pushyagupta, the governor of Junagadh during Chandragupta Maurya's time. And who all repaired that lake after that? Yavana Raja Tushaspa was the governor of Junagadh during the time of Ashoka and he got it repaired. Yavana Raja Tushaspa got the lake repaired. Then it tells us that during the time of Rudradaman, Suvishka was the governor of Junagadh and again he got the lake repaired. And finally, it tells us that during the time of Skandagupta, Chakrapalita was the governor of Junagadh and he got the lake repaired. Yesterday's class, do you remember? Clear? Do you remember? Yesterday's class, whatever I've told you, the history of the Sudarshana lake, I hope you're revising whatever we are doing, 3.5 hours of class, almost 3 hours, 15 minutes of class. Please revise, take time to revise. The ratio should be, understand this. If it's a 2-hour class, understand this, students. If it's a 2-hour class, okay, you have attended class for 2 hours. It could be any subject, not necessarily my subject. You do self-study for 4 hours. That should be the ratio. Self-study for 4 hours on that topic. 4 hours. And if necessary, more hours, depending upon how perfect you have become. So read the textbook of that chapter, right? Read the chapter from the textbook, from a particular textbook. Look at the questions which have come from that topic or that chapter in the UPSC, both prelims and mains, right? And then try to find answers to those questions. That way your study is complete. Only then your study is complete. Just attending class and sitting idle is no use. Okay, it is as good as unlearning what you're learning. So I might sound very I'm patronizing here, but as a teacher, my job is to also motivate you and show you the right path. So please revise. Revision should be part of your preparation. Okay, right. We'll come back here. Chakrapalita. Ankush, Chakrapalita under Skandagupta. Chakrapalita. So yesterday's class, you revise the PPT, you'll get it. Now, the last king of this Kardamaka branch was a fellow called Rudra Simha III. And we have the Gupta king, Chandragupta II, Vikramaditya, who killed him. So Gupta king, Chandragupta II, on your screen, you can see here, Gupta king, Chandragupta II, killed Rudra Simha III and took the title of Shakari. So Chandragupta II, Vikramaditya, killed the last Kardamaka Shaka king called Rudra Simha III and took the title of Shakari. This is the fourth branch of the Shakas, who ruled from Ujjain as their capital. Ujjain in Madhya Pradesh as their capital. Kardamaka branch of the Shakas, whose greatest ruler was Rudradaman. Okay, now we have the fifth branch of the Shakas. So before I come there, let me explain to you with a fresh page. Understand this? Don't take my map seriously. So imagine this is India. Now, we have another branch of the Shakas who ruled over Western India, parts of Western India, Gujarat and Malwa regions. These are the Kshaharata branch of the Shakas. So we have the Kshaharata branch of the Shakas ruling this area. Kshaharata branch of the Shakas. Okay, now look here. Now, we have the early Shatavahanas. We'll come to Shatavahana kingdom in some time, but in this context, I need to explain to you. We have the early Shatavahana kings who ruled also over northern Maharashtra and southern Gujarat, very near to the Kshaharata branch of the Shakas. So early Shatavahanas were ruling here, this area, very close to the Kshaharata branch of the Shakas, right? They were ruling over northern Maharashtra and southern Gujarat areas. And what happens is, this area became the bone of contention between the Shakas and the early Shatavahanas, between the Kshaharata branch of the Shakas and the early Shatavahanas. Aparanta. This area is called Aparanta. In ancient India, this area is called Aparanta. What is called nowadays Konkan coast. What we now call Konkan coast. Old name of Konkan coast is Aparanta. Now, this became the bone of contention. The reason for the conflict between the Kshaharata branch of the Shakas and the early Shatavahanas. Why did they fight over Aparanta or Konkan coast? Because it's a very fertile area. Very fertile area. Whichever king brings that area under his control, he will have more resources. He can the farmers can grow 2 to 3 crops in a year. After every harvest, the king can collect taxes from the farmers. So more money will come into his treasury. That is number one. Secondly, a lot of trade took place through the western seacoast. Trade with West Africa, West Asia, etc. So you have merchants trading through the sea via the Arabian Sea. So the merchants also could be taxed. So more money will come into the king's treasury. Custom duties can be collected from the merchants and traders by the kings, whoever brought that area under their control. So Aparanta or Konkan coast became the bone of contention between the early Shatavahanas and the Kshaharata branch of the Shakas. Okay. Now, what happened is the early Shatavahanas were defeated. Early Shatavahana kings were defeated by the Kshaharata Shaka kings, and the early Shatavahanas were pushed down south. So they were thrown out from that area and they were pushed down. Who the early Shatavahanas? So they come towards present day Telangana area, what is now called Telangana. So they come towards Telangana area, and Telangana becomes the nucleus of their operations. So Shatavahanas began to rule from Telangana area. That became the nucleus of their operations. And that's why the Shatavahanas are also called Andhras. Now, one of the Shatavahana kings. So Shatavahanas had a long reign. Shatavahanas ruled for totally 460 years continuously. From 225 BC, to 225 AD, almost 500 years, about 460 years they ruled continuously under 30 kings. Now, the greatest of the Shatavahana kings, understand this, the greatest of the Shatavahana kings was their 23rd king. 23rd king. His name was Gautami Putra Shatakarni. His name was Gautami Putra Shatakarni. Gautami Putra Shatakarni. Now, what this Gautami Putra Shatakarni did was, he was a great warrior. Gautami Putra Shatakarni. So he took his army and he attacked the Kshaharatas. They had earlier pushed them down south. After many, many years, the Shatavahanas took revenge against the Kshaharata branch of the Shakas. So Gautami Putra Shatakarni attacked the Kshaharata branch of the Shakas. And who was their king? Who was the Kshaharata king? His name was Nahapana. Nahapana. And Nahapana also had a son-in-law. His name was Ushavadatta. Usavadatta. The son-in-law of Nahapana. So Gautami Putra Shatakarni, the Shatavahana king, defeated and killed both of these fellows, both the Ksharata kings. That is Nahapana, also his son-in-law, Ushavadatta. Both of them were killed. And Gautami Putra Shatakarni took a title, Kshaharata Vamsha Nirvashe Sakara. Understand this? Kshaharata Vamsha Nirvashe Sakara. One who exterminated the Kshaharata branch of the Shakas. He cut off their lineage. By killing Nahapana and Nahapana's son-in-law, he ended the rule of the Kshaharatas. So Kshaharata Vamsha, Vansh is lineage. So one who brought an end to the Kshaharata lineage of the Shakas. That's a title taken by Gautami Putra Shatakarni. Did you understand? So here I come back. Clear? So here we have a branch of the Shakas called the Kshaharata branch of the Shakas. They ruled from Mandsaur in Madhya Pradesh. That was their capital. And who was their greatest king? Nahapana. Nahapana was their greatest king. He is also called Mambaras. And we have the Shatavahana king, Gautami Putra Shatakarni, who killed Nahapana and captured his kingdom. How do we know this? We have two sources, two archaeological sources. One is in the Nasik inscription issued by his mother, Gautami Balashri. So Gautami Putra Shatakarni's mother was Gautami Balashri. And she issues an inscription known as the Nasik inscription. It is found in Nasik, Maharashtra, hence called Nasik inscription. In that Nasik inscription, we have one of the titles given to Gautami Putra Shatakarni. That is Kshaharata Vamsha Nirvashe Sakara, the terminator of the Ksharata dynasty. Then 10,000 silver coins had been issued by Nahapana. So Nahapana's name had been embossed on those 10,000 silver coins. So when Nahapana was ruling, he had issued 10,000 silver coins with his name embossed on those coins. After killing Nahapana, Gautami Putra Shatakarni restruck those coins with his name. So earlier Nahapana's name was there on the coin. On the name of Nahapana, we have the name of Gautami Putra Shatakarni embossed on it. So from that we come to know that Gautami Putra Shatakarni had killed the Shaka king, the Ksharata Shaka king, Nahapana. So this is the evidence we have. Are you there with me? All of you, clear? These are the 5 branches of the Shakas. 2 are very important. One is the Kardamaka branch of the Shakas. The greatest of the Kardamaka branch of the Shakas was Rudradaman, who issued the Junagadh rock inscription, which talks about the history of the Sudarshana lake. And the last Kardamaka Shaka king was Rudrasimha III, who was killed by the Gupta king, Chandragupta II, Vikramaditya. Then we have the Ksharata branch of the Shakas. The greatest of the Ksharata king was Nahapana, who was killed by the Shatavahana king, Gautami Putra Shatakarni. Clear, all of you? Okay, very easy. So, the chart probably makes it easy. Clear? Then we come to the Parthians. On your screen, you can see Parthians. So, Indo-Parthian kingdom. So, Parthians were from Iran, northern Iran. Okay, and the greatest of the Parthian kings was a person called Gondophanes. So Parthians were the third to come to India. They're also called Pahalavas. Shaka, no? So they were from Parthia in northern Iran. And the most famous ruler of the Parthians was Gondophanes. Understand this? Gondophanes. He was their greatest king. So when the Parthian king, Gondophanes, was ruling India, we have the first Christian pilgrim father who came to India. He was one of the 12 disciples of Lord Jesus Christ. So Lord Jesus Christ is supposed to have had 12 disciples. One of the 12 disciples was Saint Thomas. Now, what happened is Saint Thomas's ship was wrecked off the coast of Chennai, off the coast of the Bay of Bengal near Chennai. His ship was wrecked, and somehow he managed to escape. By the grace of the Lord, he managed to escape, and he landed uh, on the coast of Chennai. The local people saw this foreigner, and they got suspicious. They attacked him and they killed him. And then he has been buried at a place called St. Thomas Mount in Chennai. So he was castrated and then buried. So St. Thomas, one of the 12 disciples of Lord Jesus Christ, came to India. He was a missionary from Syria, and so he was killed at St. Thomas Mount in Chennai. This happened on the 3rd of July in 72 AD, according to Syrian Christian tradition. So he was castrated and his body was buried at Mylapore in Chennai. So it is one of the holy places for Christians in Chennai, St. Thomas Mount. So you can see here on your screen, this is the St. Thomas Mount in Chennai, earlier called Madras. And St. Thomas was supposed to be the first Christian to arrive in India. Now, we have a 13th century Italian traveler. His name was Marco Polo. Marco Polo was circumnavigating the earth. He was going around the earth. Marco Polo. And when he was going around the earth, he comes to India. He visits India. He enters India through a port called Motupalli. So there was a port of the Kakatiyas. So in present day Andhra, we have a dynasty called the Kakatiyas who were ruling. Kakatiyas of Warangal or Oragallu. So Warangal was their capital. And who was the Kakatiya ruler? She was Rani Rudrama Devi. Rani Rudrama Devi. So she was the Kakatiya queen. She was ruling the kingdom of the Kakatiyas. That is the time when Marco Polo enters India through the port of Motupalli. Motupalli was the most important port of the Kakatiyas. So through the Motupalli port, he enters the Kakatiya country. He writes about Rani Rudrama Devi. And Marco Polo also tells us that he saw the grave of Saint Thomas. So he gives us this information. He saw the tomb of Saint Thomas in Chennai. That's what he says. Right? Saint Thomas Mount. Right? Then, of course, we have the Kushanas. The Kushans. Do I have the time with me? Do you have a webinar or something like that today? Or can I continue? Students, can I continue? Or you have a webinar to attend? What time is the webinar? If it is there, I have no problem. I can continue. Is it confirmed? Is the webinar confirmed? That's what I want to know. Okay. Right. Because if I start Kushanas, I'll not be able to finish in 5 minutes. Okay. I'll not be able to finish in 5 minutes so that I can give you a 10 minutes break. So what I'll do is I'll stop here. You take a 15 minutes break. Aram se, you have your dinner. Get ready for your webinar. I'll continue my class tomorrow from Kushanas onwards. It's cancelled? Okay, great. Then I can continue. Okay, great. So that is what I wanted to confirm. No webinar. Okay, so then we'll continue. Enough time to finish Kushanas. Thank you. Let me continue. So Kushanas. Now, the Kushans. So this is the fourth foreigners to enter India. Bactrian Greeks or Indo-Greeks, then the Shakas or Scythians, then the Parthians, and lastly the Kushanas. So the Kushans were one of the tribes of Central Asia. They are called Yuchi or Tokharians. And the Kushanas established an extensive empire from the river Oxus in Central Asia to the river Ganga. So from river Oxus in Central Asia to the river Ganges in India, they established a huge kingdom. Their capital was Purushapura or modern Peshawar in Pakistan. That was their first capital. Purushapura, nowadays called Peshawar in Pakistan, and their second capital was Mathura. The greatest of the Kushanas was Kanishka. We'll come to that him. We'll come to him in some time. The greatest of the Kushana kings was Kanishka. Now, please understand, uh, during the Kushana period, so we have the so-called Silk Route. Understand this? Silk Route. Silk was nowadays we are all copying the Chinese method of making silk. Now, what was the Chinese method of making silk? You see, we have the silkworm. Silkworm eats only one plant, the leaf of only one plant, mulberry. So it eats the leaf of the mulberry plant. And the silkworm is very, very small, tiny. It keeps on munching on the mulberry leaf. And day and night it keeps on eating. It doesn't have any other work but eat the mulberry leaf. And within a few weeks, the silkworm puts on 1,000 times its original weight. It puts on 1,000 times its original weight. And what does the silkworm do? It starts weaving a cocoon around itself, a small, thin textile texture called a cocoon. It starts weaving a cocoon around itself. Now, what the Chinese used to do is they used to take this cocoon, which contains a silkworm, the live silkworm, they'll put it in hot boiling water. The silkworm dies, and then they used to extract silk. This is the Chinese method of making silk. And the Chinese kept this a closely guarded secret. They kept this as a closely guarded secret. Nobody knew about it. Why did they keep it a secret? Because there was a lot of demand for Chinese silk fabrics, Chinese raw silk and silk fabrics in the Western countries. As a result, we have a route which came into existence known as a Silk Route. Silk Route. It passed through, you can see here on your screen, just hold on. This is the Silk Route on your screen. You see this? This is the Silk Route on your screen. It was a 10,000 kilometer route. 10,000 kilometer Silk Route. Start from China. It starts from China and it travels through many mountains and valleys and deserts, no? And then via Central Asia and then via parts of Northwest India. So it passed through Northwest India. The Kushanas were ruling this area. The Kushanas were ruling this area. So what the Kushana kings used to do is they would order their officers to stop the silk merchants. So they used to stop the silk merchants who were on the way towards the west. They were going towards west, towards Europe. They'll stop them and they'll extract taxes from them. They'll collect taxes from them. As a result, you have a lot of gold and silver coins which began to flow into India, into North India. So a lot of gold was flowing into North India because the Kushanas were controlling the Silk Route. So that among the foreign tribes, the only foreigners to control the Silk Route were the Kushana kings. So a lot of gold was coming into North India. Okay, now the greatest of the Kushana kings was Kanishka. Now, how do we know this? Um, Now, what about Kanishka? Now, Kanishka was their greatest king, and he was known to be a very tolerant ruler. So, with a Catholic outlook. What is the meaning of Catholic outlook? A very tolerant outlook. Tolerant outlook. So, he had a very tolerant outlook. How do we know that he was very having a tolerant outlook? Because he worshipped many gods. He worshipped the sun god. He worshipped moon god. He worshipped fire god, Acho. He worshipped Buddha. He worshipped Shiva, etc. So he was known to be a very tolerant ruler, Kanishka. Kanishka is the person who conducted the fourth Buddhist council at Kashmir. So we have four councils or four meetings which took place after the death of the Buddha. So the fourth Buddhist council took place in Kashmir. Fourth Buddhist council took place here in Kashmir. Fourth Buddhist council. He was the patron king who conducted this council. And in this council, in the fourth council, We have Buddhism, which got divided into Hinayana, Mahayana. Hinayana and Mahayana. This is called the final schism in Buddhism. So when we do Buddhism topic separately, we will discuss about it in detail. Don't worry about it. Now, who was the president of this council? So we have a person called Vasumitra. He was the chairman of this council. Vasumitra. And the vice chairman was Ashwagosha. So president or chairman was Vasumitra, and vice chairman or vice president was Ashwagosha. And Ashwagosha, who was the vice chairman or vice president of the Fourth Buddhist Council, wrote a number of dramas. In fact, the earliest dramas in India are written by Ashwagosha. They're called Shauriputra Prakarana and Sundara Nandana. Shauriputra Prakarana and Sundara Nandana. These are the earliest dramas in India. He also wrote a number of poems like Buddha Charita, Vajra Suchi, Gandhi Stotra, etc. So he was a great scholar, Ashwagosha. Kanishka established the Shaka era. He established the Shaka era. Shaka era was established by him. He established the Shaka era starting 78 AD. Now, very interesting this is. Kanishka belonged to which dynasty? He belonged to the Kushana dynasty. The greatest of the Kushana kings was Kanishka. But why do historians say that he established the Shaka era? Shaka era was established in 78 AD. Now, the explanation for this is that given by historians, not by me, but given by historians, is that probably the Shakas ruled parallelly along with the Kushanas. Probably the Shakas ruled parallelly along with the Kushanas, and therefore Kanishka is said to be the founder of the Shaka era, established in 78 AD. Now, Kanishka built a huge stupa at Peshawar, which is now in Pakistan. So he's supposed to have built a stupa there, which excited foreigners. It was 70 feet tall, I believe, this stupa. So therefore, it excited foreigners, and also a vihara, a monastery, meant for the residential purposes of Buddhist monks. So he built a stupa and a vihara at Peshawar, which excited foreigners. Charaka was his court physician. Charaka was the court physician of Kanishka, who wrote Charaka Samhita. So he was a physician, Charaka Samhita. So Charaka was his physician who wrote Charaka Samhita. Okay, a book on Indian medicine, Charaka Samhita. So Kanishka is supposed to have been killed by a Chinese general called Pan Chao. Kanishka was killed by a Chinese general called Pan Chao. I have never found how to spell this. Is it Pan Khao or Pan Chao? So Kanishka was killed by Pan Chao. No, Ashwagosha was not a Kushana. Ashwagosha and Vasumitra were patronized by Kanishka. They presided over the Fourth Buddhist Council. One was the vice president, the other was the president. Kanishka is the ruler of Kushana dynasty, Divya. Kanishka was a ruler of the Kushana dynasty. Okay, this is about Kanishka. So please understand, the Kushanas controlled the Silk Road. Who were the first to introduce gold coins in India? Indo-Greeks. The Kushanas introduced gold coins on a large scale. Understand this. First to introduce gold coins were the Indo-Greeks or the Bactrian Greeks. Then to introduce gold coins on a large scale, were the Kushanas. To introduce gold coins on the largest scale were the Guptas. Introduce gold coins on the largest scale were the Guptas. Kanishka is the ruler of the Kushanas, greatest of the Kushanas. So first to introduce gold coins were Indo-Greeks. First to introduce gold coins on a large scale, where Kushanas, largest gold coins were issued by the Guptas. Okay, so this is about Kanishka and the Kushanas. Of course, we have other supplementary information. Gujarat catfishes was their founder. Then Vima catfishes introduced gold coins called dinars. So all those things we'll discuss. Just hold on. I have some more time. Another 4 minutes. So Kushanas ruled from Peshawar or Purushapura. That was their capital. Second capital, right? So founder, you can see on your screen. Founder was Kujula catfishes. He was the founder. Vima catfishes issued gold coins called dinars. Issued gold coins called dinars, and we have the images of Shiva, Nandi, Trishul, etc. Right on his gold coins. The greatest was Kanishka. Greatest of the Kushana kings was Kanishka. He minted gold and copper coins with figures of Indian and Greek gods. And one more thing I forgot to mention. I'll tell you now. The Kushana kings took titles. The Kushana kings took titles after the Romans and the Chinese emperors. Understand this? Very interesting. Um, See, Roman emperors used to take the title of Caesar. They should take the title of Caesar. And kings of China used to take the title of Son of God. Sons of God. They used to call themselves Sons of God or Son of God. So Chinese emperors used to take the title of Son of God or Sons of God. And Roman emperors used to take the title of Caesar. So from these two words, we have the Kushana kings who called themselves as Kaiser. So Kushana kings called themselves as Kaiser. And from the Chinese, they used to call themselves as Daivaputra. Daivaputra, son of God, Daivaputra. Did you understand? In India, Gunjan, they were the first to introduce gold coins in India, Gunjan. So here, did you understand? So Kushana kings used to call themselves as Kaiser and Daivaputra. Daivaputra, Shahanu Shahi. Shahanu Shahi. Like Shehenshah, Shahanu Shahi, Daivaputra Shahanu Shahi. So they used to call themselves as Kaiser and Devaputra from on the lines of the Roman and Chinese emperors. Right? So I have mentioned that here. It's there here. Go through it. So you have these are the coins of Kanishka. You see those gold coins, beautiful gold coins. So this is the Kushana Empire, as you can see on your screen. This is the Kushana Empire in blue color. So he built the city of Kanishkapura, embraced Mahayana Buddhism, and held the fourth Buddhist council at Kashmir. He patronized two scholars. One was Vasumitra, who presided over the fourth Buddhist council, and Vasumitra wrote a Sanskrit book called Mahavibhasha Shastra. Ashwagosha was the vice president of the fourth council, and Ashwagosha wrote all these books. Shauriputra Prakarana and Sundara Nandana. These are the earliest dramas in India. He also wrote a number of poems, as I told you, Buddha Charita, Vajra Suchi, Gandhi Stotra. Charaka was his court physician who wrote Charaka Samhita. So Kanishka erected a vihara or a monastery at Purushapura and also built a stupa there. Kanishka started the Shaka era in 78 AD. And Kanishka was defeated by a Chinese general called Pan Chao. Kushanas controlled the Silk Route. They were the first to issue gold coins on a large scale. And first traces of large-scale irrigation in Pakistan, Afghanistan, West Central Asia belong to the Kushana period. So large-scale irrigation in Pakistan, Afghanistan, etc. were established by them. This is about the Kushanas. I'll stop here. I've run out of time. We'll meet tomorrow at the same time. Okay. So one more thing. I'll talk about this other things later. Okay. Yeah. Yeah. To one more. I need to make an announcement here. Tomorrow we are not having class because of elections. Tomorrow is an election day. So voting as a democratic country as responsible citizens, and moreover as UPSC candidates, please express your right to vote. So we'll be meeting. Weekday batch will be meeting again on Monday, right? So tomorrow there is no class. Shailaja, Buddhist councils, etc. will be discussed as part of Buddhism topic. Okay, I told you. Okay, so you carry on. You have a great weekend and a safe weekend. We'll meet tomorrow, and please don't fail to vote. All the best. Good night. I'm logging out. Any doubts, any clarifications regarding subject-related queries, please mail me, vijay.kumar@byju's.com. Any other queries, targetis@byju's.com. Okay, all the best. Good night. Sweet dreams.